Hello and welcome to Horseplayers Happy Hour. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornital, back with you in the Brooklyn bunker once again for this dual production of Breeders' Cup and In the Money Media. This is our Horseplayers Happy Hour quarterfinals. We've got 40 people left competing in our playoffs. That field will be winnowed down to 20 at the end of today's show, roughly 5:15. We're going to be on with you for the last 4 races at Keeneland, 3 races from Belmont at the Big A. And I know a lot of our regulars love it when we have a contest and the whole contest takes place within the window of the live stream. That's how we're going to roll today with Keeneland and Belmont at the Big A, both rolling. And what that means is there's still time to get involved because in addition to our playoffs, we have a $179 Breeders' Cup qualifier, Breeders' Cup betting challenge qualifier. One player is going to win a $10,000 asset, the BCBC seat during the show. And it's not too late to sign up. Now, you might say, hey, I haven't done any handicapping. Are you crazy? This thing starts in 5 minutes, PTF. What are you talking about? Well, I'll tell you what, even if you haven't done the work, this is one where it might be worth taking a flyer, do some quick picks, play all the fours, do something. And the reason I say that is because this is not your typical. There's great qualifiers all the time on horseplayers.com and ways to feed into them during the week. But this is even better than those. Why is it better than those? It's better than those because the house cut goes to charity. The Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, known for the work that they do accrediting the various aftercare organizations, and also our friends up at Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. This is the place where Kim Weir, who you've heard on my airwaves many times, now works. And this is a terrific organization. I've had the chance to tour it many times. They're doing fantastic work, not just rehoming retired thoroughbreds, but also equine therapy of all different stripes. And it's really changing the lives of humans and horses. We want you to support them. You do that automatically when you play in this game. But if you want to check it out directly, TAA obviously has a website where they will accept donations, as does Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. You can learn more about them over at inthemoneypodcast.com/horses. So go to horseplayers.com, get involved. And if you're like, okay, that's compelling, but I still need more time to handicap, we got 2 more of these. The next 2 Thursdays, we're going to have our semifinals and our finals, $179 qualifiers to go along with it. So plenty of time to get involved. We want you to get involved. Horseplayers.com. And while you're there, check out the tremendous array of contests that they have on a daily basis. Speaking of contests, we're going to bring in our first guest, who is a noted contest player. You also may know her from such work that she does as for the Horse Racing Women's Summit, and also our friends at Daily Racing Forum, on whose behalf she appears today. Welcome back to the In the Money airwaves, Alexa Zepp. Alexa, how are things?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
So the last time I saw you, it was early in the day on California Crown Day. And at that time, it was pretty quiet over there in the fancy area where you were hanging out. I somehow managed to sneak in without being shot on sight, which was a plus. But you looked like you were in your element with the fancy people and the fancy food and the fancy drinks. I was just curious, down from where they let the horse players sit down the other end. Later in the day, I look back over there and it looked like a bit of pandemonium. Tell me about the rest of your California Crown Day.
It was fancy and fun. Oh my gosh. Honestly, I am so blessed and lucky that I get to go to a lot of racing events and a lot of tracks. But this trip, the California Crown, was just so fun. I'm still riding on a high. I got back, came down with COVID, like clockwork from the plane, and it doesn't even matter because I had so much fun on California Crown Day. Everything was great. The music, the people, the betting. It was awesome.
And it's something I think we're just going to be building on, both as a social event and for horse players. There's some terrific handles, some really creative wagers. Of course, a contest with Breeders' Cup betting challenge seats on the line there as well. So definitely will be one of the stories of racing we'll be following next year and hopefully working with our friends over there again. But you're here today to talk Breeders' Cup, specifically about the expanded daily racing form coverage for Breeders' Cup. I see already you have a special area on the website. What kind of content can we be looking forward to? What else, in addition to the regular content, is DRF going to be providing for racing's biggest weekend?
Everything. Simply everything you could possibly need is what we will be providing. Right now, if you go to drf.com/breeders-cup, we've got scheduled races, we've got probables, with suggested odds, we've got comments for each race, links to all the news, all the contenders. I mean, it is your hub for Breeders' Cup. And then we also have at shop.drf.com/breeders-cup a package available, which is really great. It saves you like 40% of what you would normally spend if you buy everything separately. And it gives you everything you need for both days, PPs, the Breeders' Cup Players Guide, both days of clocker reports, which are a really powerful tool that I feel like people have been discovering more and more lately. And they're just a really great tool, and 2 days of betting strategies. So we have everything you could possibly need. We also are going to be having previews of all the races on our YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to that. I know Gino has been on here before, and he and I do a show every Friday on Sports Grid, and we kind of take, I mean, we're still talking horse racing, but it's more of a, sports betting audience, and that is every Friday at 2:30. If you can't see it then, we repost it on Twitter. And this week we got a great show, but in the next couple weeks we're going to really be deep diving more of the Breeders' Cup fields, so tune into that.
I'm going to speed round you a couple of others. I know I promised I wasn't going to keep you more than 5 minutes. I think I'm at that now, but I did want you to talk a little bit about the upcoming Horse Racing Women's Summit at Del Mar. You and I are going to be doing a little handicapping panel together. I'm psyched for that, but let folks know where they can get more information. I'll probably talk about it more extensively in the coming weeks. Certainly will, but give us just a high-level view of where folks can get more info on that.
Yeah, the website is womeninracingsummit.com, and it is, if you haven't heard of it or gotten involved with it yet and you're interested, even if you're a man and you want to support women in racing and elevating women and helping them to invest and engage, get involved, get on our email list. Our events sell out every single time, so I don't know how many spots there are for Del Mar, but I'm sure it will sell out. So if you are interested, it's on that Thursday before Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. And like Pete said, he and I we're gonna have a handicapping contest. We're gonna do a little bit of a little mini handicapping seminar. It's gonna be a lot of fun and just be a great place for women to connect and network and mostly just have fun.
That's the most important thing. Just to underline, I mean, I got to attend my first One Cal Crown week and was amazed. I mean, yes, there was stuff that was specifically geared towards the unique challenges that women face in business, but there was also a lot of stuff that I just found inspiring and educational about management and interpersonal relationships, and I just can't wait to get back for more. I really, really loved it, and just heartily endorse that idea that men are not only welcome, but are going to get a ton out of it. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, my friend came along with me from Kentucky, and she is not in the racing industry, but there was still so much applicable to anyone in any industry, any gender. So definitely get involved.
Did you say you took a look at this upcoming race at Keeneland? I'll get you to give us a... No, you did not. You did not look at it. Okay.
No, I've been slammed. I'm handicapping Saturday right now.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I misread. It was our next guest who actually said he looked at this.
Put me on the spot, Pete.
No, I thought I texted you and you said yes, but it was the other guy who said these things happen. It's okay. I've got a long shot for people to look at here, but I don't want to end our interview on that note, so I'll ask you one more. What are the chances we might see your name on that Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge leaderboard? Have you qualified? Are you going to try to qualify? Are you going to buy in? I know you've had a lot of success in contests.
I know. I don't think I've played a single qualifier. So here's the deal. I'm going to be working a lot that day. I'm going to be one of the handicappers in the trophy lounge to help people bet. I am also maybe hosting some shows. So I've been trying not to qualify because it would just turn into such a cluster and I would want to play it. And so I don't know, you might see me in one at the end where I start having FOMO and I'm like, shoot, I just need to do it. And I'll just juggle and spin all the plates, but I don't know.
That's a fair answer. Alexa, thank you so much for your time today, and we will be talking soon.
Thanks so much.
Alexa Zepp from DRF giving us the lowdown on their stuff. Now, this is the person who is going to have a quick tip for us. I honestly didn't mean to text him. I meant to text Alexa. I got that backwards. But hey, nobody's ever upset to hear from Jonathon Kinchen. What's up, JK? And he's on mute.
I'm stuck on
He's
mute.
on mute once already, and he's 30 seconds into his shift here.
Oh, what's going on, Pete? I'm injured. I don't know. I don't know if I hurt myself.
Hurt yourself cheering the Lindor home run?
Yeah, the grand slam.
Hold that. We're going to talk about that when I'm doing that thing again where I'm going to pull out some audio to use for the late week show. And I want to talk all about the Mets. But with 2 minutes to post here, I thought on our website, which, by the way, you can find all manner of great free information. But I thought that our man, Eric Solomon, who does such a great job covering various tracks for us, including Keeneland, I thought he made a really interesting case for the number 2 runner in here at a very big price. This horse, to quote him, making the 3rd start off the layoff, first try at 2 turns on the turf, was a respectable 5th over this track, came back and dominated in an off the turf race at Churchill. The start at Oaklawn was rough, but showed improvement in February. Despite breaking from post 12 in a 2-turn race, came back in a turf sprint at Ellis after 6 months away and had trouble in there. Doesn't think the pace is going to be too strong and could shake clear. I love a case for a big long shot. So I'm interested in this 2 runner for him. Your quick capping on this show has been unbelievable. Who do you like?
So, I've done this a few times on the show. I don't usually like to give out info on the show because I feel like sometimes I'm putting the person on the spot who gave me the info, and then also I hate to
not to mention what most info is worth.
Yeah. Well, this person's very good.
Okay.
There's a first-time U.S. horse on the outside for Brendan Walsh, and I text Snapper and asked him, and he said the horse can really run. So
okay.
It's the 12 hole. You're 8 to 5.
Right.
They don't know. It's never run, but he thinks the horse can really run.
Interesting.
He's like we've talked about info before. There's a lot of folks that they know what they have, but they don't necessarily know how what they have fits with others. He's one that has a good pulse on it.
This horse just fits like a glove. I mean, based on this Euro form, a neck from being a Group 3 winner over at Longchamp, raced at the Group 1 level. I mean, super duper obvious. 6 to 5 from the outside post, tricky, but a likely winner. Maybe an exacta or both spots in the triple and wheel. Well, we're running out of time here to handicap with this one. I mean, you're not the only one who heard this story, JK, because she just went to even money in this spot. But it'll be interesting to see what this one has. So program, production meeting in the middle of the show, program notes, whatever. We'll do this, and then once we get this race gone, I'm going to reset. We'll do a little show open. We'll talk about last night, and we're going to do Belmont at the Big A Pick 6. You good with that for Saturday?
I'm always
up for that.
Good.
Okay.
My in-laws are here. Everyone's being mean to me, Pete. I'm having a tough day.
How could you be having a tough day after what you got to see last night? We'll discuss that after.
The 2 just scratched, by the way.
2 just scratched. So now it's a layup for this. But just empty the piggy bank and bet the 12. That's the new plan. I just reminded myself that there was a little bit of handicapping at the back end of Santa Anita that I didn't really properly get done. Oh well, I will do that on the commercials. Unfortunately, there are no commercials. I'll figure it out. I may have to channel some of your quick picking for those last couple of Santa Anita races I'm meant to be talking about. Feel free to talk us through this one, JK, or at least just don't call the race. Just give us your thoughts on this. Pretend you bet too much money on this favorite and walk me through the emotions of someone who did just that as their.
Well, I'm trying to figure out where I have it on
to load, but it does look like
TV.
This hot pot, this heavy favorite for Brendan Walsh about to go in, and then we should have a start not too long after that. Minishuka, the name of this British bred runner. Interesting to see how she gets on here at Keeneland. They pause the load there. The 6 runner is giving them a little bit of trouble loading. That's Ragtime Lady, who's catching some money for Tom Amos. And once that one goes in, we'll have the 12 pop in there, and then JK will take over and give us the commentary of someone who bet too much money on this 4 to 5 shot. Not saying that you did that, but that's the mindset I want you to be in. It's probably not a mindset that's that hard for you to find, I'm going to guess.
No, I got it memorized. I got that mindset memorized. All right, they're off. I have it on. You know, it's a fun thing to do if you're ever watching Keeneland. Note to self is put on the YouTube. They have a live stream, an HD live stream. So if you have a TV that has a whatever, you can pop it in there and watch the live stream on HD.
Oh, that's very good.
All right, so the 12 is last early, but connected. And getting a good trip from the inside, which I think is probably a good thing considering the fact the horse drew so far outside.
Right.
Probably 6, 7, 8 links out of it.
Yeah, that's not plotting. And you kind of expect that with one first-time North America. I mean, often they break, often they just walk out of there, right?
Yeah.
Brendan Walsh has a really interesting resume. For those that don't know his history, Irish National Stud Course. He worked at Kildagnan, which is the Godolphin farm that I had the pleasure of visiting with our ex In the Money intern, Alex Sauceville, a couple of years ago. And then I think wound up galloping for Godolphin in a few different places. And then he hook on with Keneally. And then before going out on his own, does that all sound about right?
I don't know about that. I'm going to take your word for it.
Okay.
Looks loaded up the inside. Let's see. Going to need some racing room here, but get in there, Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like she's gone from here.
Yeah, she's going to run to those odds. She's going to win.
Once she wins, I'll tell you what he really said. I just didn't want to put him on the spot. Yeah, galloped.
Interesting. There was a backflash on the tote to even money. Somebody got the idea to oppose her late. Usually when it's that kind of steam, it's a one-way train. But it did backflash.
Snapper said, I'll tell you exactly what he said. I didn't want because I always feel bad that they don't embarrass him. I said Manushka runner ? And he said shouldn't get beat.
Shouldn't get beat. Didn't get beat. Yeah, if you're saying shouldn't get beat from the 12, that's probably telling you something. Actually, let's do this Belmont race first. Gosh, I didn't give you time to give us a quick pick for this one. Even
what is it? What race is it?
It is race number 6. They're off, but you can tell us who you would have picked if you've got it.
I'm not looking yet. I can still play this game. I would have picked the 4.
The 4 red blinkers on the inside, drafting in behind what's nearly a 3-horse Vi, becoming a 2-horse Vi, as Murazara seems to, I don't know, maybe just rating. I thought it had enough already, but maybe just decided to back off the pace. So, yeah, you're going to need a little bit of luck, but I think with some patience, should be able to get a run. You picked Giants Fire, who's 5-2. Yeah, indeed, this 5 does have a little bit more run, but being asked, you're definitely bottled up. You're in a bit of a phone booth right here. Jockey can't really move the arms, but it looks to me as they turn in like something might open up for this horse. Or did you just tip out? No, you tipped all the way out to the far outside. The 6 got the jump. You're coming, you're closing, but you're going to need the 6 to get really weary. Second looks very, very good. And there is a chance you could make this a race late, but I think it's going to come 6, 4, 3 with Chalky Cat getting the victory there. All right, so let's wait a minute because then we can we'll do an early leaderboard update and then we'll do our thing because we're going to have plenty of time to actually, you know what? I changed my mind again. Let's do the reset. We'll check leaderboard later. We got all show to check leaderboard. Let me just get ready to make a note, and then we will be off and running with the official beginning. Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatal, back with you doing that thing where we take a little bit of Horse Players happy hour and fold it in to the late week show for the In the Money Players podcast. Reminder, you can join us for Horse Players happy hour every Thursday. Well, I say every. There's only 2 left, but we do have these 179 qualifiers for the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge each week. The house cut going to Thoroughbred Aftercare, the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, and our friends over at Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. Please get involved these next 2 Thursdays and see if you can be among the players who's won a Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat, courtesy of Horseplayer's Happy Hour this year, 2 of which have been awarded at no cost to players in conjunction with our friends over at the Breeders' Cup. PTF here in the bunker, joined by a man. We've been in the same building for several hours the last few days, but I've been just so nervous. I've been glued to my seat the whole time and haven't even gone to see him because I'm a bit of a heel. But very curious to see what he thought of what for me were 2 of the funner baseball games I've ever been to, especially last night when Francisco Lindor hit a home run that will go down in Mets history as one of the most significant of all time. I expect a mural of it at some point in the next 6 months. He is Jonathon Kinchen. JK, what'd you think of the orange and blue last night?
Well, it was fun. Pete, I'm not the biggest baseball guy in the world. Respect it, get it, whatever. But now being in the city and Jovi and his brother Joey is a diehard Mets fan. So he came in town for the game on Tuesday night. We went to the game and we had so much fun, and he was supposed to go back. So if you went to Salivo last night and Joey wasn't there, he was supposed to be, but he stayed to indulge and went to the second game with Joey and his parents, and it was fun because I like going to sporting events where people care.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like being at a sporting event where I just don't really care and no one cares is like, whatever. But Joey was excited. He was fired up the whole time. You go to a baseball game back-to-back nights, you start to kind of become a little bit more familiar with everyone and the players and all this stuff. And you know how it is, Pete. It doesn't matter what sporting event you go to. If you're like you and I, you got to get down a little bit. Right? you got to do something. So I made like this $50 free wager on like a same game parlay on the first night. It hit for like $300, and then ran it back last night with the Mets -1.5 and for Lindor to get 2 bases. So he strikes out swinging, I think, the first 2 times. So I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable.
You found a way to cool him off. Yeah, the hottest player.
All because Joey was like, Joey had told me basically what you had told me too, is that, on Tuesday night they had run through the bullpen. So as they got later, it was going to be better. And that Lindor had been out for a lot of this, or not a lot, for a while. And then this is his first time being back at Citi Field. So I thought, okay, he's going to have a little bit of a game. He'll get on base, blah, blah, blah. He's got big bats behind him. Look at me, I'm like a baseball guy now.
I love this.
And so it had another effect with the bases loaded home run. So it was a lot of fun. It's fun, but baseball in New York City, to me, is better than everywhere else I've ever gone to baseball, because the experience of taking the subway down, like with everyone, getting literally off the subway at the ballpark, whether it's Yankee Stadium or at Citi Field, and it's just like it's great. And then Citi Field, they, more than almost any, I can think, probably better than any sporting event I've ever been to, their production of those games is outstanding. The music, it's just super entertaining, and the people are into it. I had a great time.
The vibes were great, but that's interesting. So when you were pogoing there down in the left field corner, it wasn't because the Mets went up 4-1. It was because you'd hit your bet. It's all making more sense now.
It was a combination of both. And then I went upstairs and got some Lindor gear for everyone. So the
nice.
To remember the night.
That's awesome. I was going to ask I know you're not generally a jersey guy, but I think your line is jerseys are for kids, but it's just part of the Mets culture. It's part of the Mets culture that you gotta break out the gear. I had my dad's super old school black roadie jersey that I wore both nights over different t-shirts. I had the Mr. Met t-shirt under. I had that, and I should have brought it down here to show you my sort of satin baseball starter jacket Mets, super old school. Same hat as this. And for me, I was there for Piazza in 2001. I was there for Agbayani. I wasn't there for the Grand Slam single, but so 2 of the 3 biggest home runs certainly of recent vintage I was there for. The Lindor was really the equal of all of them. I wasn't even drinking and got completely doused with a beer and did not care. It was a special night. Glad you got to be a part of it. Now, do you think you'll go back for the LCS? Are you hardcore enough for that now?
Yeah. The problem is I think we'll be out of town. I think the LCS is going to be when we're in Texas. We're going to Austin. We're going to go to Texas, Georgia, which is the biggest football game in Austin probably in the last, I don't know, maybe 25 years. Maybe more, maybe longer, to be fair. And so we won't be here they'll be, when they come back home, we'll be gone.
Gotcha. Well, we'll see. Hopefully there'll be another series for you to go to, but I don't even dare dream on that. All right, let's get to some horse racing, my friend. We'll start off with race number 6 at the Big A on Saturday. Pretty interesting card, all in all, I thought. We'll kick it off with these 2-year-old maiden special weights going 7 furlongs. I love these 7 furlong races. They help bring in some interesting pedigrees, usually horses that we may be seeing next year on the Triple Crown Trail if everything goes according to plan. You got a huge favorite here in the form of Key Waden coming out of that Tip Top Thomas race. Form's been frank there with Tip Top Thomas coming back and running well in the Champagne. Was a good second to Chancellor McPatrick that day. Are you with Key Waden or against?
Yeah, I'm with Ice Cold. Look, we talked about it last week. I picked Tip Top Thomas because of the horses that ran in that race, and with Key Waden, talking about how I remember I don't remember exactly what day it was. I don't remember. It was a Friday where Chad won and did really well, and then Key Waden basically was a horse that he had the next day that he absolutely loved, and the horse didn't run that well, considering didn't win but ran well. I think the horse is extremely talented. And I think this horse, he ran fast. I think it's Ice Cold single for me with this one.
Yeah. My 2 other things, I'll just quantify a little bit. 2 other points that you were already making. Has already run 5 Beyer speed figure points better than the par. But then the other thing I loved about this horse, JK, a lot of winners out of this dam, and nearly all of them improved their figures significantly second out. So he's already faster. He's going to get better with time. He's going to get better with distance. Not wasting any time trying to beat Key Waden. Stone cold for me and JK in the picks. Hopefully we'll start this off with a nice short-priced winner as we pivot to race number 7, which is the Floral Park. 6 furlong listed stake for fillies and mares. In this one, we've got a field of 10 O's. We're not going to need them. Fingers crossed. Looks like the weather's going to be okay up here. This is another one, JK, where I'm at the lower end of the odds spectrum just because I thought that risk threshold, the 5, could potentially be loose on the lead. I love the pedigree on this Tattersall's October sales purchase by the great Dubawi with strong turf sprint blood coming from that Australian part of the dam side. We already know the horse loves this course and distance and has an improving look all around. Can you beat risk threshold, or are you with me here and skinny again?
I'm going to use a 4-5 here, Secret Money and the 5 risk threshold. Secret Money, shout out Brendan Walsh for that winner a few minutes ago. But I thought
Did he tell you this one should not lose?
No, he didn't say that one. Shouldn't get beat. No, he didn't say that one. But I thought the horse ran well at Kentucky Downs, was wide, had trouble, has back numbers that fit. I'm just going to use these 2 and try to advance this race. I'll get a little spreadier late, but I've earned the right to do that by being skinnier early.
Yeah, I mean, this horse makes a lot of sense as well, and I could certainly see not minding at all using as a backup. We've talked a lot on these shows about the subtle differences in turf sprint distances, and I do think this one probably, Kentucky Downs, I don't hold subpar races at Kentucky Downs against horses. It's just not for everybody, and the way she's been sticking on late in the 5.5 furlong races, the run around the more galloping Woodbine course, still finishing there at 6.5. The 6 should suit. Secret Money might just be a chalky exacta. A lot of picks, though. I'm just going to go through risk threshold and see if I can make some magic happen. We move to race number 8, New York bred allowance, going a mile on a turf. Once again, a big full field signed on, and our friends at Adelphi Racing Club have participation in this one, double participation, in fact. And this is one of these horses that I'm involved in. Number 6, Gem Mint 10, provided me my first and so far only Saratoga winner as an owner. And this might be the kind of thing, JK, where when you know the inside story of a horse, you sort of you can tell yourself stories that aren't necessarily in the PPs. But for me, I think he's actually really interesting in this spot. At the time of the last race, I was actually not thrilled. I love my Manny Franco. I wasn't thrilled with that ride. I thought he got a little too far back. Honestly, thought he probably should have got the winner's trip. But having said that, the fact that this horse settled and run well and has now settled twice. This was a horse that had mental issues earlier in his career and would get lit up and be crazy. I think with more pace signed on, a little bit more of a controlled ride early, this horse could get an absolutely perfect trip now that we know he has the ability to settle and finish. I also think he was a little stretched last time going the 9 furlongs and might have more punch in the lane here. So many ways you could go in here. I certainly respect the other Adelphi runner. Better lucky than good. But I'm going to go ahead and pick my horse, Gem Mint 10. Who do you like in the 8th race?
Look, like I said, I was skinny early. I got a couple skinny spots late. This race to me, they all look exactly the same. And even the ones that, a horse like Laurel Valley, who's 10-1, or Clear Conscience, who's 12-1. Their best races, their recent races, look extremely similar to what you would expect from a horse like Lock and Key, right? They all look extremely similar to me. This is one of those situations where I wanted to try to give you the all but one, but I couldn't find the one. Even a horse like Born Dancer, I wanted to make sure I had in this situation. So this is going to be the all button for me.
That's fair. I get it. I mean, when you do any exercise in making ability type figures for this race based on the numbers they usually run, you're going to have the whole field within 6 points. So if there was an all race, I get where you're going from. Though, of course, the contrary idea that in a race that looks like that, if you can get skinny in some combos, hey, if I happen to be right, I'm going to set myself up to be paid because I think so many other people will be spready. So we take opposite approaches in race number 8 after basically being in lockstep early. Let's see what happens as we turn the page to race number 9 at Belmont at the Big A, an allowance going a mile on the dirt and a field of 9 signed on for this one. This is a race where I felt like you had to spread. Are you spready as well? And I'll let you give your ideas first.
No, I'm only going to use 2. One is an A horse, one is a B. I'll use the 8 Pentathlon as an A, who was a little disappointed in him back in June, where I thought, he was basically 1-2. He was a single. He shouldn't have lost. He got beat. And I said to myself, this horse is never going to win because he started to kind of look like a little bit one of those didn't want to win types. Then up at Saratoga, he ran extremely well and won. And then I forgive him for last time. I think that he probably, the way that the race was run, with I think he probably went a little bit quicker. He was on the front end, so I forgive him. He gets a little bit easier this time. So I'm just going to use the 8 as an A horse, and then I'll have the 9 as a B, so I can have some savers with that one.
All right, the 9 being Rocketeer, 5-2 on the morning line. I do have Pentathlon in the mix, but I had second. I thought it was interesting. I thought the 4 Mama's Gold has plenty to recommend. That was a closer favoring strip, according to the Timeform database on September 20th. And this horse proved the best of speed there before getting run down late by a closer. I thought this horse looked very much suited to this turn back in distance and his second time off the layoff. And Pentathlon is very similar, I think, another horse that probably ran too fast. That was also marked as a closer friendly track and might try to go back to some stalk and pounce tactics here. Plus another that might be better at the mile than the 9 furlongs. I've got a goofy one to throw in, more for underneath, but I am going to use in the picks as well. Let's have a conversation about number 2 Colloquy. This horse, I just think, is better than the last 2 look on paper. Closing into the blue fractions on Timeform last time. Made the move into the hot pace 2 back. Absolutely going to be tested for class and may not pass. But things could really heat up here pace-wise, especially if they do go forward with Pentathlon instead of sitting. And I think this horse can come running into the number at a big price. Didn't want to leave out the 2. So I had it 4, 8, and 2. 8 and 9 for JK. You buying the Colloquy case at all, or you think I'm tripping?
Oh, well, whatever you were going to say, I was going to say yes. I think you're doing that, and you went with tripping, which is fine. I do think that, yes, Pete, I do believe that you are tripping.
You just doesn't class up. Is that your issue with the horse? I mean, that
Yeah,
certainly.
I just think that there's a couple of others that make more sense. Even the one that you mentioned, I think the 4-horse. I don't have the name in front of me right now, but the 4-horse, I think, was Mama's Gold.
Yeah,
Would be an
Mama's Gold.
alternative for me to those outside two.
Just see. I'm just looking for one maybe for third and fourth and some tries there. We'll see how it plays out on Saturday. Maiden claiming New York bred fillies and mares going 6 furlongs on the turf. Sometimes this can be a recipe for chaos. Will this be one of those times? Splashy is certainly obvious. I'm going to make more of a defensive use and try to pull in a price here, but let me throw it to you. Is Splashy a good thing in the 10th?
I don't know if I'd say good thing, but definitely I'll use Splashy as an A type. I want to also have the 4 top of the table. It's a horse that I don't typically love cutbacks and turf sprints. You know, people, it's one of those deals, especially turn backs that don't have a lot of early speed. But it's forgivable when it's a maiden special weight cut back with no speed, closing into what is, you would think she's better than, excuse me, in these maiden claimers. So I'll use the 1 and the 4 as my only A's, but I do want to keep an eye on the 12. If the 12 draws in, I'll use that horse as an A. If the 12 does not draw in, then I'm fine just having those two, the 1 and the 4.
I get it. Top of the table is among my A's as well. But the 9, Better Be Smart, was my top pick. Attending the fast pace and then followed the move that broke the race apart last time, that eventually went to a deep closer. And today's likely favorite, Splashy, got a run from there from the back, just by a nose. But Better Be Smart, I just thought was doing a lot of running in that race. I know the horse was a big price there. I think that also might help this horse come to this spot underrated as well. Could even have the speed to lead in this spot. The pace just looked modest to me. You already made the case on top of the table. I had in my notes basically exactly what you said about don't love turnbacks here, but this horse should be able to be seen to better effect with the class drop and the cutback. So let's see. I want top of the table on side. And then, yeah, I'm not going to lose to Splashy, but I also didn't necessarily want to lump on at the 6-5 of the morning line. We'll see how that one plays out. We've got one more race in this segment of the show. We close out with 2-year-old maiden special weights, just as we began, though these are on the turf, going 1 mile and a 16th, and we've got a fully subscribed field. When it comes to this pick 6 on Saturday at Belmont at the Big AJK, how are we gonna get paid?
Yeah, I'm gonna use a few in here. I'm gonna use the 2 Atomic Age. I don't love the horse. The horse took money first time for Chad up at Saratoga. The pace wasn't very fast, so maybe there's an excuse there. You want to make sure there's been 3 winners out of that race that simulate one. The 4 Davy Crockett, taking money in the last 2 starts, but starting to kind of get that feel a little bit. At 5-2 and 7-2, does this horse actually want to win? But like third and second, I can forgive that to a certain extent. In this spot, so I'll use that one. And then the 10 Tom's Way, a Kitten's Joy, out of a Warfront mare. There's obviously some turf pedigree there. That one's gonna be more of a B type for me. And the 12 English Law, I wanted to make sure I had ran against Without Caution first time out, who I think is an all right horse, is a half to front run the Fed, and does need to improve to a certain extent, but the way Dylan Davis has been riding, Mark Cassie's been training, it's possible.
Yeah, I hear that. Hot connections and getting English Channel and Kitten's Joy working for you in a spot like this definitely makes plenty of sense. I had the Warden on top. This is another weird one for me, but I thought this horse might be an interesting stranger. Trainer Salvaggio has had just 1 horse run at Naira in the last 5 years. That horse was second at 6-1, but this horse just has a lot of angles that I like. A well-bet firster who didn't break, as we so often talk about. They often have much more speed when they come back for the second run. And I thought this horse ran all right without an easy trip on debut. A couple of winners came out of that Laurel race. This horse is well drawn and is going to be a very big price. Just thought that was an interesting one to maybe turn things up a little bit. And then Atomic Age has that same angle. Bet really hard, broke poorly, then stuck behind a crawl. To me, that's one you can absolutely forgive when you look at it, that it is a real key race. 3 next out winners, as JK pointed out. very obvious. The only potential issue for me being I was assuming a pretty short price. What did David do on the morning line? 5-2. That would be a backable favorite for me on Atomic Age. So I'm going to mess around 1-2, 2-1, all like that. 2-4 on top, 10 and 12 on the back end for JK. Any closing thoughts? Let us know anything else happening this weekend racing wise we should know about.
Not racing wise, but hook 'em horns. They play OU, so let's go do that.
So your Mets fandom has certainly not superseded your Longhorn fandom. That would be weird if it did. But just to return to the place that we started, how would you compare these two nights at Citi Field just to other sporting events? I mean, I know you were there when the Mets. Funny enough, you were there. I wonder if you even remember this, but I do. You were there, I'm pretty sure, when the Mets clinched the NLDS back in 2015. You were out in LA. Didn't you go to the clinching Game 5 in LA back in 2015? That doesn't even sound familiar to you?
At Dodger Stadium?
Yeah. I'm almost sure you were there.
Right. Did maybe TQ got the tickets for us or something like that?
Exactly.
TQ? Oh, I went with you. Were you with us?
I was in England. I was in Newmarket, of all places. But I remember just being envious and thinking the irony that a guy who wouldn't even remember being there 9 years later was there when I was, waking up in the middle of the night in Newmarket, like listening on the internet.
I think I know the day, actually. Hold on, let me see. I think I remember what shoes I had on, which is funny because I had a picture of it.
This is hilarious.
I think it's on my Instagram. So look up the date while I'm looking at this, Pete, because I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say, was it October 15th, 2015?
Let's take a look. Mets NLDS 2015 Game 5. Let's see if it gives me everything. I'm getting the overwhelming. Yeah, October 15, 2015. Yep.
Yep.
You were there. One of 54,000 in attendance. So you'd.
Yeah, look, I was there.
Similar seat to what you had last night as well. That's amazing.
That was a little higher this time
around.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. That'll make Joey happy to know that. So I've been there for 2 times. They've clinched the Mets.
2 times they've won the division series. Clinched should really be pennant for me, but
next time okay.
But how did it, in all seriousness, how did it compare to other sporting events you've been to, just in terms of atmosphere?
No, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. The excitement of it, the way that it all unfolded. And Joey kind of gave me the breakdown of basically how the season was just like, it was 4th and 28 and they had the punter was out there. They were about to punt. And he showed me this video last night at dinner of the announcer saying basically this is pretty much what rock bottom looks like.
Yep. That was from the TV broadcast when they were 0-5 in Milwaukee. Yep.
that they have the best record in baseball since Grimace and the Oh My God song came out.
You got to get it. I'm glad I hope you got some Lindor gear for yourself to walk around it. But we need to get you, or at least Austin, a Grimace t-shirt.
Yes, you're right. 100%.
All right. We will be back right after this. We're actually going nowhere. That was just for the audience who's going to be watching or listening later. But yeah, that was good. A good 23 minutes to start off. Meanwhile, we've got 3 minutes before we have this next race at Keeneland. While I check in on our 2 leaderboards, JK, you look and find us a winner there. We got 100 entries. That puts us above
Keeneland.
Yeah, we're at Keeneland, race number 6 next. And you might as well, I think they're, for whatever reason, them and Naira are kind of running on top of each other today. So if you want to do the double, you can look and see if I'm right about that, about those tracks running close together. But you might want to take a look at both. Meanwhile, Timothy Brokaw, a new name to me, in first right now after 2 races at 30.56. Jake Brown, Tim Yoler, who won a BCBC seat in this very contest last year. John Gasper, regular player over on contestjockey.com, and a pal and a regular viewer listener. He's in there as well. Michael Guadiano is also up in the mix. Philip Fairbanks, Aurelio Garcia, GT Nixon, Alex Mangubat. Gosh, I haven't seen that name in a long time. And Scott Coles. Fun to see Scott Coles' name in there. An Eclipse winning Horseplayer is he. So that is that contest. Now let's see if we can find the the other one. For some reason, I guess I'm logged in and it's not letting me see the playoffs right now. But if I log out, I bet I can do it. Yeah, that's going to help. Here is the playoffs. So we have 40 people playing. Top 20 are going to advance. I'm not going to read them all now because we'll get to that because I don't want to short shrift the Keeneland race. But Mark Henderson, David Pierce, Chris Weichel, Stefan Gravina, Jackson Muniz ×2, Malcolm Esquer, Michael Domable ×2, and Matt Letexier. We'll give Paul Weiser a shout out as well. They're at the top right now. Obviously, all to play for there. 40 entries. The top 20 are going to advance to the semifinals next week. JK, back to you to give us some winners. Who do you like in this race at Keeneland? You are on mute. Time 2. If you have you're not on mute. You're just not coming through. But I can't count that as I don't know. We'll have to send that to the judges to see if we can count that as an on mute.
All right, you got me now?
Now I got you.
My mic died. So I
it'll be a long load. They are loading.
Yeah, no, I played the pick 6 at Keeneland. I basically use all but one in here. I think
okay.
It's wide open. So
tell us the one you didn't use so we can bet that one.
Yeah, exactly. I'll officially, for the record, pick the Claret Barrette for our friends at Qatar Racing. Right? So the Claret and Gold, they got the horse they call the Claret Barrette. It's that guy Brendan Walsh again. It's a Not This Time. That'll be the official selection, the 6 horse. But I think it's a wide open race.
I'm not joking. I do want to know I'm not going to actually be rooting against you, obviously, but who is the one that you don't have?
Who did I not? The 3 probably.
Okay. 326
no.
to 1.
Maybe it was the 2, the 3.
The 2 is 10 to 1.
The 3. No 3.
Okay. So we can watch this. We can watch this along, and we'll see if the Qatar Racing horse can get going. Qatar Racing gonna be having one of the favorites at the Breeders' Cup this year it's the juvenile turf, right? With that, is it New Century? Is that what the horse is called? Horse that
New Century.
Yeah, very, 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 very nice and promising.
Who, if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost positive is not a homebred, but he's bred by their stallion.
Yeah, Kimiko, right?
Yeah, Kimiko. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. That horse is in a real nice position right now. As out front, you've got a big long shot chasing this 7 runner who's caught plenty of money. That's a horse called Sarir. And then you're just getting a nice 3-wide trip. Looks like the horse is doing everything on her own. Are you sure it's Barrette and not Beret, by the way, with this horse, who's now powering to the lead? You sure about the pronunciation?
I just declared. I was hoping it rhymed.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But I don't know. Claret Beret. Claret they use as a color. Easy winner, by the way. Claret's a color. It's like a burgundy. Sometimes they'll call burgundy wine. The Brits will call that claret, but it's also just a color. So I was thinking almost like a raspberry beret, like a claret beret. But anyway.
Oh, he galloped, huh? I'm on delay watching it on the YouTube, but.
Oh, yeah. She absolutely, yeah. Winner every yard. So caught some cash, but you'll be happy enough with that. Moving it forward. Did you have the time to press up any opinions, or was it like a true all but one, no waiting?
No. I was pressed up there.
Good. So a fine result from you for that one. And let's see what's happening at Belmont at the Big A. They're getting ready to go into the gate as predicted. So they're milling around a bit. You got a minute here to take a look. You got a heavy favorite in this Belmont at the Big A race with the 2 at.
I'll take the 8. Awesome check.
What jumped out about this one?
I just remember the horse from the summer. Horatio trains, and he's a talented little thing. So I went there. I went with for my quick cap. I didn't like the 2 Chad runners either. I just thought they'd be overbet.
Gotcha. Well, that certainly seems to be the case. I think that the if I'm not mistaken, the one that was catching money just came down to evens from 3 to 2 in one flash. I'm guessing pre-computer money too. So somebody thinks they know something in this Belmont at the Big A race.
And this is I think this is my swan song, huh, Pete? I better get these better get these Italians to this Italian restaurant, or I'm gonna end up in the Hudson.
Cement shoes. We shouldn't make those kind of jokes about the Italians, but I can get away with it because I am one. Where are you going for dinner?
I think we're just going for snacks at somewhere. Some spot over here, like on the Upper West Side.
Nice.
Because they're going to see Stevie Wonder tonight.
Fantastic. Where's he at? The Garden?
I think at Madison Square Garden, yeah.
Oh, that's terrific. I should have gone to that. But I'm going. I shouldn't complain though. I am going to game 1 of the New York Liberty down at Barclays Center. Trying. Now, I mean, no offense to the Cyclones in saying this, but trying to bring a championship back to Brooklyn for the first time since 1955 would be nice. Heavily favored to do so. I'm guessing it's a really quick pace because you got a bunch of long shots out there winging in this spot.
When's game 2 of that, Pete?
Game 2 is Sunday. Let me know if you want to come.
Sunday.
Yeah. We can bet the races on our phones.
What time is it at, though? Is it at night?
3.
No, I think I'm dead.
If it was night, we'd have a problem because that's also going to be when game 1 of the NLCS is. But it is 3 o'clock, so we should be good. All right, we still have a big price here in front, but closers beginning to wind up, especially this number 1 Brisbane, who's making kind of a slingshotty move to the lead, and some others are making in runs behind. But I think the bird may have flown. The 2, that heavy favorite, trying to get involved.
The two Chads ran 1-2, of course, and Awesome Check ran 3rd. So
so you could have hit that try. JK, enjoy your aperitivo. That's what the Italians call happy hour. Enjoy aperitivo. Have a spritz for me, and we'll be talking soon, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, Pete, talk soon.
Good stuff.
Let's go Mets.
That's that. I was waiting for that. All right. Thank you, Jonathan. We have another guest scheduled. Let's see if she is nearby. If not, I will get to some questions because I haven't been able to do that lately. Oh, yeah. I had forgotten to send our next guest the link. So I will do that, and she will join us momentarily. And we will yap, and then we'll catch up after her visit with the leaderboards again, because we'll give a few minutes for that stuff to go. But in the meantime, let's check out Chris Couples in the chat. Always good to see him. Oh, Chris was over at Ashford Stud and got to see Jack Christopher. Curious how he's going to get off, what kind of start he's going to get off to at Stud. Carl Carlson chimes in and says, oh, I missed this Nakatomi question. I'm interested in the horse generally speaking, that's for sure. And I know JK was too. JK made the point in some show we did, or it must have been the recap show, that he thought that was maybe more just a prep. And in fact, Carl, like you're saying, laid out for a big performance at the Breeders' Cup. Trish, always great to see her name here. Family coming is down next weekend. Does anyone know where to buy a box or seats for next Saturday? I assume, Trish, you're talking Keeneland, and I got nothing for you other than the obvious, Keeneland.com. I would think you might be able to get something done. Tell you what, Trish, hopefully you're still with us. If that doesn't work, if you don't see anything at Keeneland or SeatGeek, I would say ring me up or, DM me, get in touch, contact page. I think we've been in touch before, but if you don't have my email, contact page over at inthemoneypodcast.com. Always a good place to reach me. And, I know some people down there. We'll see if we can pull a rabbit out of a hat for you. You're such a loyal player in these Horseplayer happy hour games. I would love to try to do that. But I have a feeling your easiest method might be one of those more basic things that I discussed. So try that first. And if you get stuck, give me a call. Can't wait for all the Breeders' Cup coverage we have coming up. Going to be doing more and more on the YouTube channel as time marches forward. But also want to remind folks that we definitely have a Breeders' Cup package on the In the Money Plus side worth paying for this year. You're going to get the best analysis of the European shippers you're going to get anywhere. We're going to have trip notes on the key prep races. Going to have a lot of fun with that. What else? We're going to have betting strategy stuff detailed for the first time. Really should be a terrific addition to the library. Horse-by-horse write-ups by members of the team as well for each of the 14 races. inthemoneypodcast.com/plus, the place you want to go for that. As we wait for our next guest to get her camera sorted, if she can hear me, and then we will we'll bring her in. If she doesn't have a camera for some reason, in that case, just text me and let me know, and we can go audio only. But I want to see you, and I'm pretty sure there's just a button you need to hit Sometimes you have to back out and select it on the screen before you come into the green room. This is the fun of producing yourself, by the way. Yeah, there we go. I think she's going to be back with us in a minute, and we should be all set. Brisbane getting the job done there at Belmont at the Big A at 6-1. Venetia did end up backflashing to 6-5 there. The all Chad Brown exacta. Stop me if you've heard this one before, folks. Chad Brown runs 1-2 in a turf race. Next up on the show, very happy to welcome in a frequent correspondent for In the Money Media when it comes to all things regarding the JRA. We'll talk about that. We'll look ahead a little bit to the Japanese contingent at the Breeders' Cup as well. But first and foremost, let's say hello to Alex Henry. Alex, what's up?
Hello, Pete. Great to see you. Great to hear your voice, and great to be talking about the Breeders' Cup. Super excited.
Yeah, we'll get to Breeders in a minute because the depth and breadth of this Japanese contingent is truly like nothing we've ever seen before. And I do want you to weigh in on that. Perhaps we can do some coverage as we've done in the past with the whole team. We'll do a little roundtable as we get closer. But right now, I want to focus on what's going on in the JRA when it comes to this Saturday night. What's the big race? What can we look forward to?
I'm just so excited about everything. I jumped ahead. Yeah, we have a big weekend of racing for JRA. We have the 11th race at Tokyo Race Course. It is the Grade 1 Shuka Show, or the third leg of the Phillies Triple Crown on turf. This race is over 2,000 meters, so can't wait to see what the Phillies bring out. We don't have a Triple Crown on the line this year, but we do have a very, very formidable race. And I feel like I say that every time, but it's so true. These horses are top level.
It's very competitive over there. You know, there's great information. The team always comes together at inthemoneypodcast.com with free picks and analysis, past performances if you want to do some digging on your own. And it is no exaggeration when you talk about the quality of these Japanese runners, which is why we've seen them have such an impact around the world. But as for the Shuka Show, give us a little short list and maybe a top selection to guide us along the way. And then folks can check back Saturday afternoon at inthemoneypodcast.com to get the rest of it.
Absolutely. So the big two are Slovenia and Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch won the first leg of the Phillies Triple Crown, the Oka Show, way back in April. She then followed that up with a very close second place finish to Slovenia in the Japan Oaks. So narrowly losing out on that Triple Crown opportunity, but nevertheless performing very, very well. And her chief rival will be, as the aforementioned, the formidable Slovenia. She also competed in the Oka Show, but didn't perform quite very well. She ended up fading to 13th in late stretch, just didn't have her customary kick home there. But of course, rebounded in the Japanese Oaks to win over Stellenbosch. And it really was a closer's race. I believe both closed from like 12th or 11th to a link up in the final strides at the end of that race. So I don't see the cut back to 2,000 meters being an issue by any means. These fillies have won between 1,600 meters and of course 2,400 in the Oaks. So I'm really looking to lean on these two the most in my wagering.
I feel like the people listening to this podcast probably know this, but 2,000 being a mile and a quarter, 2,400 being a mile and a half in everywhere in the world, but here. But of course, that's just for some people, it'll help them contextualize it. How do you split them in terms of potentially trying to make a wager here on late Saturday night, Alex, or do you want to, from a betting point of view, bring in something at a bigger price?
So we always have our prices, Pete. We'll get there. But for me, I love playing horizontally. I'm a horizontal player. I play the early pick 5 and the late pick 5 whenever it's offered on the wagering menu for JRA. So I'll play this. I'll definitely have a ticket, probably a larger ticket, like maybe a $5 ticket with just these two on the ballot, and then a single or two earlier in the card. But I'll probably have a 20-cent ticket, excuse me. That's the awesome thing about JRA pick 5s, is that they have that 20-cent option that I've seen it pay very well, over $1,000, $1,300 for a relatively small investment. So if I'm spreading, I'm going to go ahead and add a filly that will be a price. Her name is Christmas Parade. She is formidable black filly. She's gorgeous. She's by Kitasan Black out of a Blame mare, Miss Erica. So, Blame, your Breeders' Cup winner, got some stamina in there infused on the dam side there as well. And of course, Kitasan Black performing at classic distances too. She last out won the Xi'an Stakes at Nakayama. This was back in September, the 7th of September. That race is a prep for this race. It's 2,000 meters or a mile and a quarter, of course, on the turf. And I like her because she actually has really good tactical speed. She sat a clean tracking trip in second the entire way last out. And the Xi'an Stakes is a grade 2, so it's nothing to sneeze at. And just swooped and took control late to beat Me and Yellow. So I'm really liking her chances, especially since the top two have to make a trip, weave, in and out of horses and come from behind.
Yeah, that sounds like a very legit idea in terms of strategy and to pull something in at a little bit more of a price. Love it. Let's pivot and talk about this massive Japanese contingent. It sounds like it's going to be headed to the USA or the Breeders' Cup. I'm tracking 19 different runners. Alex, is that the last you've heard?
That's the last I've heard. 19 from Kate Hunter.
Amazing. Yeah, she does a great job. Kaba Kate on Twitter, a must follow for any fans of the Breeders' Cup. She does a great job recruiting these horses and helping be the liaison. Be great to have her on at some point. And again, we will cover all of these horses in depth. We're not going to try to do that at this stage, but I will pepper you with a few questions. There's familiar names in here. There's horses who have races in the USA. We'll save the classic for my last question, but of the non-classic division horses, Alex, is there one in particular at this stage who is going to be on tickets for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I really like a horse called Don Frankie. He'll be in the dirt sprint. He's a 5-year-old, seasoned horse. He's an exclusive sprinter. He's never been to the US, but they did try him in the Dubai Golden Shaheen, where he finished second, earning about a 101 time form international rating. He is a strict sprinter. They tried him third last in the February Stakes, which is over 1,600 meters, and he did fade to ninth. Whereas the race before that was the Tokyo Cup, 1,200 meters, and I'll say 6 furlongs. I'll convert for us. Apologies. 6 furlongs in the Tokyo Cup, grade 2, and he finished first. So he really is a 1,200 meter specialist or a 6 furlong specialist. And 6 furlongs is going to hit him right between the ears at Del Mar. So really excited to see him coming over.
One I've seen a lot of enthusiasm for in the betting markets in a division that might well be pretty open here based on speed figures is American Bikini in the juvenile fillies. Is she on your radar much? What can you tell us about her from this far out?
Yeah, absolutely. So American Bikini last out basically won what's equivalent to like a non-winners of one allowance over about 7 furlongs or 1,400 meters. She earned a 93 net Kaba speed figure, and that's actually very competitive with even older fillies, mares and colts and horses that are coming over. And again, I'm using the net Kaba speed figure that is what we're approximating to be the closest to buyer at this time. And so 93 puts her right up there with Sharyar, pretty much. Ushpa Tesoro, the other horses coming over that we're more familiar with.
Oh, I mean, that in a division like the juvenile fillies would stamp her as among the favorites if it's a 1-to-1 comparison. You and I are going to do some behind the scenes work, interrogating some of these figures and seeing if we can come up with, are we going to treat them as the buyer scale? Are we going to do a little bit of, moving around, etc.? We're going to have plenty of that information. There's going to be plenty for free in stuff that we do, but it'll be all of it on the In the Money Plus side if folks want to check out inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. I want you to give me just pick a horse from the list that you want to talk about that's not classic division, and then we'll close out with a question about the classic, and then we'll save the deeper dive for later on, Alex. But who's another name that intrigues you on this list of 19?
Yeah, how about a horse that will definitely be overlooked and what will surely be a very contentious Breeders' Cup turf? I'm looking at Roshem Park. He's a 5-year-old. horse. And he hasn't done the globe trotting that some of these others we'll see in a couple of weeks have, but he did go to Hong Kong, didn't run very well, finished 8th in the Hong Kong Cup over about 10 furlongs on turf, but he's always been top 5 in grade 1 company in Japan. I look back 3 races back, finishing 2nd in the Osaka High over about 10 furlongs on turf, and then finishing 5th in the Takarazuka Kinen over roughly 11 furlongs on turf. And then he had a clunker last out, finishing 10th in the Mainichi Okan, which is a grade 2 race still in Japan. But I know actually he'll be overlooked because in that race, Sharyar is pointing there. If you remember Sharyar finishing extremely well in the Dubai Shima Cup. And then running in the Breeders' Cup Turf last year. He is a Derby winner from a couple of years ago. Not to mention the European contingent that will ship over. I could see Rosham Park easily being 20-1 just because of that 10th place finish, and he's an unfamiliar face in the turf.
Love it. I've always loved the excuse to throw in one at a price like that.
Absolutely. And I have one more actually, Pete. I actually have one more quickly. A horse called Remake. So Remake was super flashy early on in her career. She's going to be pointing for the sprint, to my understanding. Not sure if it's just filly mare sprint or the sprint in general. But she's like a South Korea specialist. She's run twice in the Collier Sprint, which is an international Group 3 race, 1,200 meters on the dirt. She's won it 2 years in a row, including this year. So I get 6 furlongs that race is on dirt. But we don't have a figure for that. I'd be curious to see what the buyer team does for that race to see what we can compare her with. But I just found it super interesting. Another 1,200 meter or 6 furlong specialist, much like Don Frankie, and she will surely be a much higher price than Don Frankie. So I'd look double digits.
I'll tell you what, I do know one lunatic who makes figures in South Korea. So that one we can probably get a homemade figure for, if nothing else. Again, the kind of thing we'll be sharing on our plus side. But I'm sure if you listen to our conversations, you can probably get what you need to know. It's not like I'm going to be holding out on people based on what we find. Let's take a minute before I let you get out of here, Alex, and talk about these 3 coming over for the Classic. Much more familiar to us. 2 of them ran in the Classic last year. Tesoro, who had a lot of wise guy attention, and Dorma Sorogake, who I love for the Derby last year, had that trip, and then sort of acquitted himself running second in the Classic after we'd been told that his season was over. It was a pretty impressive performance for a horse whose season had been supposedly over. Then you have Forever Young, who many believe with a clean run could have won the Kentucky Derby. He'd been away for a while, made his return to the races, a winning one. How do you separate these 3 in terms of the Classic? Are they all contenders? Who would be your pick of the 3?
If you can tell by my background, I am Forever Young all the way. He stole my heart and almost stopped it in the Kentucky Derby, finishing 3rd. You can't see it, but it's still my cell phone lock screen. He and Sierra Leone duking it out in late stretch. Poor Mystic Dan the phone is not wide enough for Mystic Dan to make that background. Poor guy. We love him too, but I'm all for Forever Young. He came back fierce in the Japan Dirt Classic over about 10 furlongs last out. Was that a week ago, right? That was really recent. He earned a 1:14 Akiba speed figure for that performance. That puts him ahead of any horse coming over, like any last race figure for any horse coming over for the Breeders' Cup this year. He looked good. He looked in that wasn't even his 100%. We can rest assured that he'll be tuned to 100 in 2 weeks for the Breeders' Cup. I love, of course, Derma Sotogake's chances and Ushua Tesoro's chances. They were unable to beat the winner of the Nippon Television Cup, whose name is currently evading me right now, but he's not coming over for the Classic. I would say Ushua definitely ran a lot better than Derma, but hey, they're favorites in my heart too, so definitely be on tickets for me in some fashion.
Will you have an all Japanese trifecta among your portfolio of wagers in the Classic?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Alex, not the last time. First time we're talking about this year's Breeders' Cup, not the last. Appreciate your insights on the JRA Racing Saturday night. Remember, inthemoneypodcast.com on Saturday afternoon to get free tips and analysis from Alex and the team. Get her thoughts on those other races in the Pick 5 that she likes there, as well as free past performances. Been loving working with the JRA the last few years. And Alex, we'll be talking soon.
Sounds good, Pete. Thank you.
Always great to hear from Alex, and we will be back right after this. Once again, it was a fake little break so I can pull out that audio that we'll also use on the podcast. But thanks so much to Alex for coming on and sharing her insights, her enthusiasm for racing, just palpable, and very excited to be able to talk more about these Japanese runners with her. Next up, we're going to bring in our third and final, I think, unless we have a last-minute visitor. You never know around here. But our last scheduled visitor, we'll call him that, who joins us now, is a man who gave you all manner of winners. I thought I did okay last weekend, but this guy was lights out with $20 winner, bunch of other good stuff in the info he gave out on the show. He is Mikey P, Mike Pribozie. Mike, what's going on, my man?
Let's hope we can run it back this week. I said to you after we were going over some of those winners that you think I'll get invited back. So here I am.
You did. It didn't take long either to get you back on this dual purpose Horse Players Happy Hour / late week in the money show. But we are going to wait. We're not going to do that handicapping because we're going to talk about this 2 upcoming races, because then we're going to have a ton of time. And I don't think we're going to need... You're not going to need as much, I think a half an hour between when this Keeneland race ends. And anyway, we'll do the capping later is what I'm trying to tell you. But we can talk about these races. We can also talk about other content you've been providing on the In the Money sphere. I know there's a big night. You're dual purpose in terms of harness racing and flat racing. And you've got some exciting stuff to tell us about happening Friday night on the harness racing side of things, including not a live stream, I don't think, but a show you just recorded for the In the Money Media YouTube channel.
Yeah, Indiana United Champions at Harris Hoosier Park this weekend. That's Friday night. Their big nights usually go on Friday nights, and almost $2 million in purses. And this is the end of their sire stakes season. So you have all those big, lucrative $250,000 super finals for those sire stakes type horses. Lots of stars this weekend in those races, and it's just a fantastic night. Anybody that bets harness, you got to look at Hoosier because they have big fields, big payouts. The multi-legs tend to carry over because the races are difficult, and when they're going for big money, there's lots of movement. Great racing on Friday night.
And it's one of these meetings, and we've identified a bunch of them throughout the year that are almost like the gateway possible meetings for flat players looking to get more involved. Obviously, that's our audience here. And I think, from talking to you about it, this is one of them, the right combination of stars we can maybe beat, some prices to throw in the mix. Heartily encourage folks we're not going to send you in blind. Check out the Harness Players podcast and the YouTube channel, In the Money Media YouTube channel, to get a ton of custom information as far as all of that stuff goes. Shall we talk about this race at Keeneland coming up, maiden special weights, race number 7?
Yeah, let's go. It's a nice board here, really. The favorites are 3-1, but several horses that are taking money in this spot.
Yeah, where was your eye drawn?
I was looking outside, and the 13 scratched in. They also eligible there are Margot's Angel, and 3-1 here for Mott and for Jose Ortiz. Third start back, and improved very much so, shifting to Churchill there on September the 15th. I had a little bit of time off, has been betting both starts. Enough speed, I think, that should be in the perfect spot, and should be making that early move there. Short stretch here, mount a 16th at Keeneland, so you want to make that early move. You want to be in position, and speed has been doing well. Now, maybe not as much today as it had been, but I do think this horse will be in the right spot.
All right, very interesting. We had a strong case on the blog from Eric, who liked the 3 Eunomia in this spot. Made a good long shot case you can go check out, as you can almost every day. Free tips and analysis over on inthemoneypodcast.com. But this runner 11-1 right now. Do you give this one any count?
Well, Vicky Oliver won a race yesterday and at 30-1. So obviously the barn is always live, ready to go. And this horse is taking a little money in here, really, as 11-1 shot. It probably is going to be from off the pace, I would think, but is stretching out. It's a wide open race here. I'm not sure that you could trust much of anything. So a horse, if you can make a case and you're getting the price that you want, I say absolutely. I would never talk anyone off that one.
Nice. And remind me your number again.
13 for me.
13. We've got the 13 at 3-1, and we've got this 3 at 11-1. Going to see how it plays out here in just a couple of minutes as they start to approach the gate at Keeneland. I'm facing the sad fact of potentially not getting to Keeneland this meet. I swore in 2015 that I would do the best I could to always make it to at least a day of the spring and fall meet, and I've been pretty darn good over this near 10-year stretch. But this year, there's just so much stuff going on, including now maybe some weekend playoff baseball that I wasn't expecting. That's going to probably keep me in one spot. But we will see what happens as far as that goes. How often? I assume you've been to Keeneland. It's not that far from you, is it?
I love Keeneland. I was going to Keeneland back when I was 20 years old and getting very minimal vacations. My vacations were spent in Lexington, showing up at Keeneland. So as a young horse player, it's absolutely my favorite racetrack. I really wish I could go all the time. If I could move to Lexington, I would. That's how much I like it.
It's pretty great. And yeah, if you love racing, I mean, really is, as I so often call it, the seat of the breeding industry in New York, really an answer to Newmarket, for us, headquarters, really. And it does pain me when I have to miss it. The other thing I want to do that would be fun, I mean, gosh, I don't know who'd read it, but to go there for a meet and like write a book about it. I don't think that book has been written. I've heard books about a whole meet at Saratoga, books about a whole meet at Del Mar, but a whole meet, or maybe you'd even do a spring and a fall and like try to tell a bigger story I'm coming up with this idea on the fly here, but try to tell a bigger story about the breeding industry and, how all the pieces of the horse racing puzzle fit together. You think anybody would read that?
I think so. I mean, when I go down there, I would go and visit the stallion farms and spend time there, just checking out the horses. It's the scenery. It's amazing. Just white picket fence after white picket fence, and I don't know. There's just something about it down there. I feel so comfortable. It feels like it's where I belong. And no one. I think that the appreciation of racing in Kentucky is like nowhere else on planet Earth, really. And you could talk racing with anybody in Kentucky, whereas where I'm at, I mean, most people don't even know that there are horses racing around the track besides maybe on Derby Day. So it's just a different thing. It's a different vibe. I can't say enough about Lexington, and I do think that anything produced that any sort of book that you could produce I would be worth reading for me.
All right. Well, I sold one anyway, so there you go. One thing. They're just about loaded into the gate here. I'll do what I did with Jonathon in an earlier race. You can talk us through, or at least lead the conversation when they pop from the perspective of someone who backed your 13 runner here. Let us know how you feel about this trip at all stages, and we'll see how it goes. I'll chime in occasionally, but what do you think? Asking for a little bit of speed from the break there. You happy with this forward sit?
Yeah, I mean, I think we thought this horse would be forward here, and again, short stretch in that mount of 16th. 2 didn't break as well as anticipated. That horse took late money to 2-1 here, so 13 has made the front from that outside post. The 3, the Eric's long shot, sitting second currently. So
maybe you can run. Let's get the in the money exact.
ITM exacta rolling here.
1, 2,
9 sitting back in third. Yeah, at 10-1, off the pace here, and going a little quick here. 23.71. So per mount of 16th.
Need a breather down the back probably, but you might get it. Nobody else is pressing. And it seems to me that the 3 is content with this stalking spot and isn't going to attack until the turn. So then, it'll be interesting to see, who wins that battle. Meanwhile, though, a runner like the 9 is getting the absolutely perfect trip. Might have to hear from that one in the lane. But, I don't know, stretch him, get that one off the bridle a little bit early. What do you think is going to happen here as we enter the turn? 47-1 for that.
Backfield's starting to activate a little. The 11. That's a first timer for John Ortiz. Actually, is racing very well here. The 3's gone straight right by the 13. So that'll take care of that. But this is a yeah, the 3's pulling away here, really.
Very impressive. There is a horse. Is there a Klarovich horse who's coming and running?
That is, yeah, Chad Brown rolling for second, but far too late with that short stretch, I would think.
That's right. Short stretch will help a lot. And yeah, making good ground, but going to run out of time. 3-2. Great
call on the 3.
Eric Solomon, unbelievable. He does such a good job. I gotta text him. He's feeling down today. He's a Phillies fan. But we had a very pleasant interaction. I was much nicer to him than I was to the loud Phillies fans who were sitting and rooting next to me at the game when it was over. When I told them very sarcastically that I hope they had better luck next year and enjoyed their trip back home. But I would never say that to
You're trolling Philly fan. That's interesting. You could get shot doing that, really, but
not at Citi Field. I think I had some backup, but I would never do that to a polite fan. I'd like to.
I have a great Philly story. We were actually at a Flyers game, and a bunch of Pens fans. We get a box every year, so a private box, and there was 30 Pens fans in a game at a Flyers game, and we had to be escorted out with security after the Pens won. So
I want to hear more about that. But post time at Belmont at the Big A, if you have one for us here.
I was looking at this race. I went to the 8 here. Dream Working. It's Dutch Row. I like the pedigree. I think this horse getting onto the grass that should suit. So currently 4.5 to 1.
All right, the 8. We'll play that same game. We'll wait for these to be official. Then we're going to reset and we'll talk about Keeneland and Santa Anita, which will be good. So excellent. So, but yeah, I want to just underline that's free info, but that's not even on the plus side. Eric Solomon there with a $24 horse or whatever it's going to turn out to be. InTheMoneyPodcast.com, the place to go for free picks and analysis just about every racing day. And if you want even more and you want to support the work that we do, more importantly, so we can continue to bring you free stuff, InTheMoneyPodcast.com/plus. I know you're going to be a big part of our In the Money Plus coverage coming up, Mike. How's I know you're part of the Trip Notes writing team. How's that project going? I'm worried it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot, but I think we have the right team to cover it with Justin, and we're going to add Will Humphrey to the mix. He's definitely going to be a part of that coverage. So lots of good stuff coming on the written side, certainly for Plus, and they're off in New York now.
Yeah, I see that. You look like you're getting outpaced a little bit in the early going here. How far is this race?
I think it's 6.
You're settling now. You're settling now and gathering stride and catching breath and getting into the race nicely. I think the rider just was worried early about falling a little bit far back, but it seems like the ship has been righted now. Looks like maybe an early move or early-ish move from a long shot, the 9 Frog Hollow Summer. You seem to be following that one. Meanwhile, out here on the lead, we have this blossoming erudite and the favorite Kayla's Cause. Looks like a lot of very busy riders as they turn.
I'll say.
Who's going to win?
I think I might come up a little short here. Looks like the favorite is also coming up short. So it's the 3 and the 6 to the wire here.
Yeah, it looks to me like blossoming erudite is finding for pressure down at the rail and going to pull this thing out, though it could get close at the wire. Let's see. Yeah, that one got the job done. Very nice run. That's got major contest implications there as a 7 to 1 shot. Eric Solomon confirms that he did bet the thing. You know, sometimes.
Well, there you go. See, you were speaking about Plus. We get Eric on the Plus side also. So lots of podcasts with Eric. He was bouncing all summer with a lot of different great picks and great analysis. So
he does
just another reason to subscribe to Plus.
He does the work and does a great job. It's very fortunate to have the team that we do. Yeah, let's wait for these two to become official. I'll get ahead of the game and pull up my Keeneland notes, and then we'll dance from there. That's what we're going to. What does your horse racing plans look like this time of year? Obviously, we've got the big night on Friday night on the harness side. Do you dive into these Keeneland cards? I tend to back off a little bit because my brain is so much in preparatory mode for Breeders' Cup. But do you keep? How would you describe your action around this time of year?
Yeah, I like to keep my eye on Keeneland. I mean, the Breeders' Crown's approaching too for harness, and that's the big couple weekends we got coming up here next week and the week after. So you have eliminations and finals. Definitely always busy with that. Keep my eye up in Canada, up on Woodbine Mohawk Park, and so I have my hands in a lot of different pots, but I do like Keeneland's, and I like Kentucky racing. And I do think it is worth following, but you know how degenerate that we all are. If they're going in a circle and they put numbers on them, I mean, I might have my eye on it one way or another.
It's hard for you to stay out of the fray. That's what
Sure.
I'm hearing. I can't find my notes for Keeneland, which is going to be an issue if I can't. But maybe I'll remember. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, it's probably just I didn't save the document somewhere and it's hiding out. Hate it when that happens. I usually am pretty good at that game, but I seem to be letting myself down here. But I've got a minute to find it because we have to wait for these races to be official. Do me a favor and be my spotter. Let me know when those races go official, and then I remember.
Looks like Keeneland is official.
Keeneland is official. Great. Well, we'll wait till they're both. We'll wait till they're both official. So here's what I did. So I went and visited my mom yesterday because she lives on Long Island on the same train where City Field is. So I had lunch with her, and I obviously wasn't going to, I knew I had to work, and I wasn't going to bring my computer to the game. So I brought an old computer to do the Keeneland handicapping after I had lunch with her. And I'd simply forgotten that I'd done that. And I emailed the notes to myself, and I've just found them. So it's not a non-disaster there. You're getting a little insight into how the sausage is made here at In the Money Media, people. But yeah, I definitely don't think I want to try to enter the game with a computer. I don't think that would have gone particularly well. All right. As soon as this second race goes official, we will do both these leaderboards and then on with some handicapping. Looks like we have Keeneland set. Yeah, we're still waiting on both of these. I thought Belmont was official. Why hasn't it run?
No, Keeneland's official, but not Belmont.
Okay, Keeneland is official, and we're still waiting on Belmont. That makes a lot more sense. Waiting for race number 7. There. Okay, so I'll just keep refreshing until we have something here. I did not prepare anything. Usually I'm pretty good at knowing when the lulls are going to be and having something to say, but I'm feeling like I've used most of my filler material at this point. I'm just ready to talk about some handicapping. You know what that's always good for is going and checking in with the comments. And we do have Matt Miller, who I know is in the playoffs and doing well. A hunch play for him on Michaela Brisbane. I didn't even know that was a UFC fighter, but I do know that Matt is a big fan of what happens in the octagon. And let's see, Chris Couples chiming in. Stories in the morning are the best. Pete, but you got to be up the crack of dawn. Yeah, for Keeneland, for sure. Favorite days watching the races on the barn. Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. The mornings are just magical. That would be a year of or 6 weeks in a year of waking up early for sure. Stu Slagle chimes in. Yeah, that's fair to cover all the sales too. The problem with that, I'd try to weave it in. I think I can't realistically spend a full year there, but God, it would be amazing to cover that area of work as well.
They are official now.
So much story that goes on. All right. That means we've got 2 races left. They're both at Keeneland. We have tons of time here. I didn't even realize how much time. I mean, I thought I remembered saying it was going to be a supersized edition, but didn't quite remember that we had 2 full races to fill. So yeah, we're going to need more questions from you people in the comments at some point here. Hit us up. We could do some early Breeders' Cup questions. Maybe Mike will talk a little bit more about what the Trip Notes project is going to look like, etc. But we can go right now to the Horseplayer Happy Hour playoffs, where appropriately enough, our year-long leader, Julie Loboyko, is in first place. I'll do the top 20 this time. Derek Cuno, Andrew Uretsky, Stefan Gravina, Mike Saletta, who had a big run on the tour, Nathan Kosinski, Steve McNatten, Mark Henderson, James Millar, speaking of In the Money people, along with Matt Miller, Chris Weichel, Greg Kingma, a former tour winner as well, Paul Weiser, working his way up the leaderboard there in pretty good shape with that 2580. John Maslin ×2, Matthew McJunkin, David Piers, Bob Montgomery, Jackson Muniz with his spots in a double tie for 19th. But some of those are going to be outside looking in. I think, do we embarrassing, I don't know my own rules here. Do we let ties advance in this round? We'll get some separation hopefully in these next two races, and it won't be an issue. But yeah, and then you can see the other 20 on the outside looking in. A lot of the same names. A lot of people with carried two entries forward. Justin Christine, who's helping out on the trip note side, he's going to need to get going. And yeah, that's our top 40. Still all to play for, though, with the cut line only being somewhere around $20 right now. I'm not sure with the various ties what's what. That's a little bit of a flaw in the way we do the leaderboard for this particular format, but no big deal there. Let's take a look at the overall contest. Brett Wiener, familiar name from the NHC Tour, etc., right now in first place with 62. Tim Yoler, who won the seat last week, right in behind, 55.98. Glenn Bird, 54.36. Thomas Michael Albinanti, a name we've seen on a ton of leaderboards. Stefan Gravina playing in both. And Edward Enborg, Robert Little, Jeffrey Schmitz, Chris Olson, and GT Nixon rounding out the top 10. We got 100 for this contest. Not bad at all. That's going to raise a lot of money for our equine charity partners. We'll be back to talking contest in a bit. Maybe what we'll do, Mike, is divide this up. We'll do a segment on Keeneland. We'll pause. We'll talk about those races, the next race at Keeneland. When that goes official, then we'll do Santa Anita after that. You happy with that plan?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, with that in mind, I'm going to wait till a nice round number, and then I'm going to start. And that round number is going to be 131.30. PTF and Mikey P back with you to talk about Keeneland's racing on Saturday. Pretty darn good card. Don't have quite the level of Breeders' Cup preps that we had last weekend for sure, but we do have some really good racing coming up, and including one race in the form of the Queen Elizabeth Cup that could have Breeders' Cup implications. Maj won this last year and then went on to run in the big one and catch all manner of money and run all right. But Mike Pribozie, welcome back to the audio side here on In the Money. You ready to give the people a bunch of winners like last week?
I'm ready. I don't know if I can follow that act from last week, and these are tough races, wide open.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We'll start off with race number 5, because this is the start of the All Turf Pick 3. We've got a lot of special coverage of the All Turf Pick 3. Are you going to be on we're doing a Friday All Turf Pick 3 show too. This show should drop in time for people to check that out. Did you end up being a part of that one this week, Mike?
Not yet, but I have a feeling we might be.
Interesting. All right. Well, something's going to happen. Does that mean I might be on it too?
It's very possible, but we'll talk about that later.
Production meeting the true production meeting in the middle of the show. Let me know. It's never any hardship to handicap extra races from Keeneland. Let's talk about this one though. 2-year-old maidens going 1 1/16 miles on the turf. We've got a big full field signed on in here. When it comes to the All Turf Pick 3 on Saturday with its player-friendly terms and conditions, my friend, how are we going to light this candle?
Well, it's 2-year-olds, so I'm going to be a little boring here with the 5 Blue Chair Bay for Brad Cox. Now, he started this meet very sharp, 5 wins already, and this horse was bet first time out, but only 6-1, so it wasn't overwhelmingly bet, and he excels with these types of horses. This horse was just slow into stride, and that was not the place to be at Kentucky Downs. We'll just forgive that. They were going a mile there. I do think that this horse should be better. It's drawn perfect here. And, the Cox's numbers with second timers is nearly 30%. So that one's a use, but you could use some others here. The 8, My Father's Place, not just the George Arnold first time starter here on the grass going along. That interests me. I like the breeding. This horse is going to be a price. Now, 15-1 morning line, but you get IRAD here. So I think the intent is there for him to show up. He doesn't really ride for this barn ever. So that is something that I think you need to pay attention to. And then the 12, Takak is the horse's name. It's Nacho Correas. This horse has made up ground twice on the grass and really, could be better here. Now, the post is concerning, but you're adding blinkers. Closers have really done very well so far on the Keeneland grass. I think that this horse could benefit from that. So another one, 10-1 morning line, I think is interesting. So 5, 8, 12 to start it off.
I was with you in terms of the top pick. The 5 Blue Chair Bay just looked very obvious and interesting off that promising debut. Looks like good form with 2 next out winners, and then the top 2 in that race coming back to not be disgraced in stakes. And they, the finishes weren't that great, but they both did some running. And I thought that Blue Chair Bay had significant trouble at the start in there. I'm inclined to give another shot for a barn, as you note, improves a lot better than the average with its second-time starters. I had Blue Chair Bay as a lone A, and then in terms of backup horses, I had a couple of ideas. The number 1, Johnny's Rendezvous, I thought was interesting. I have tremendous respect for Phil Bauer and his operation. This is a good post from a horse who I think is a double flow move up coming out of those last couple of races. It's possible this horse is just a off, but it's also possible with racing could settle down a bit more. I do not mind having onside. Nick's 6-1 morning line guess would be okay with me. And then I wasn't going to be a hero with the 4 Lucky Mischief. Just seemed like an obvious favorite. I was not in any hurry to want to oppose. I do think Blue Chair Bay will be a longer price than that one, so I'm going to go the 5 as an A and the 1 and the 4 as Bs to start things off at Keeneland, where we'll continue with the first race of the late pick 5, another one of these bets at Keeneland that I'm always taking a long look at. This is an allowance race going 6.5 on the dirt with a field of 8 going postward. And there were 2 that I was going to mainly focus on, starting with an incredibly obvious one, number 4, Giant Mischief. And my note was, looks every kind of obvious. If this horse is ready, that's the question. But knowing Cox and his operation, bring them back, particularly bring them back at a place like Keeneland, probably is ready. The work certainly suggests so. If you build in some figure improvement for age, really just might be a very hard horse to down in this spot. The 5 Cyclone Mischief, I thought, was the obvious alternative. Off that big run 2 back. I'm not doing a lot for you here, giving you the favorite with the presumptive second choice, but it's just how I see this race. I thought it was straightforward. Are you with me at the lower end of the odds spectrum, or do you think we can bring in something out of price?
Well, I think you have to make a decision on Giant Mischief. Interestingly enough, the biggest figure this horse ever raced was at Keeneland, second time on. That was Breeders' Cup Day. Back in November of 22, and a beat Arabian Lion that day. Of course, we know that was a Baffert, really monster there. And then tried the Derby Trail, really didn't do very much. Ended up 3rd in the Malibu though in December. Now shows back up in this spot. I think the racetrack could suit. This field isn't really full of monsters by any means, but it's horses that are racing at upper level allowances. So he's definitely going to have to be ready to go to win, and he's probably going to be, sub even money in the race. So I would use him. I think he's a single way, but if you're going to back up, I would try the 1, maybe Kavad. Just Joe Sharp Barn, very, very, very hot right now. Was great at Kentucky Downs. Has started Keeneland very sharp. This horse gets a cutback in distance. Has raced well at many different places. Look at the Saratoga lines, the Churchill lines. I think the trip should suit, could be stalking in the right spot from the rail. You get 12-1 morning line. I think this horse plays well in multis if you can get him over.
So the 4 is an A and the 1 is a B.
1 is a B.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. All right, let's keep it going, and we'll go to race number 7, where we've got 2-year-old maiden fillies going 6 furlongs. And Mikey P, we'll keep it with you.
I tried the 4 Taverna, 4-1 morning line here for Walsh. 3rd time, you add blinkers, going to another sprint. I just think that this horse, maybe that sloppy track last time wasn't really something to suit there. Was favored first time out at Ellis and raced well. Ended up 2nd in that spot, took money second time out, but then just sort of raced even, passed a couple horses late. I'll give this horse another chance. There's some others I think you could use, though. The 6 Keepsake, it's a Cox firster. He's basically bet with every single one. This horse is very well bred, is working well into the race. So you get Pratt here. I mean, all systems go for that one. If you look back, bullet work back in August, and then, some maintenance types work. I like to see that with first timers. I like to see the big work, and then they sort of, just kind of get ready leading into the race. I don't think you need to be firing bullets to necessarily be ready to roll first time out. And then the 12's a little interesting also. My Little Punky. Raced well in 2 starts, speed. outside post, could get that right outside speed type trip in this race. And if the firsters really aren't anything, could play well versus these. So I would say for A's 4 and 6, maybe the 12 is a B.
Okay, I'm very we're aligned with the 6 and the 12 in particular. I had the 12, My Little Punky, as the top pick in here. Drawn well outside, showed a lot of improvement second time out, and I just thought against this field might be able to put that speed to good use and should be well served by the slight cutback distance here. I don't have really much to add on Keepsake. I like the looks of the works. This is precocious breeding. Cox certainly needs no introduction. We talked about how good he is with the second time starters, but he wins plenty first out as well. I had this one 12 and 6. I'm going to take another longer look at your 4, who you had on the top line with the 6, with the 12 as more of a backup type. Let's get to the featured race of the day. Grade 1 action for these 3-year-old fillies in the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. We're going 1 mile and an eighth on the turf, and I've got one to throw a wrench in the works here and maybe be a really good price. Probably more of an underneath type. This is a race that I did a full horse-by-horse write-up over on races.com. You'll also get a link to that, as well as lots of other content if you sign up for our completely free newsletter in themoneypodcast.com/email. But Buku is the horse I want to talk about. Struggled at Del Mar last time on a course that was just not playing well for her closing style, in my opinion. She's going to be a big price, but what we have here is a grade 2 winner multiple times, twice over this course, actually. The elephant in the room, the figures are slow, awfully slow. But this isn't exactly a field of figure world beaters. I get that she doesn't look like an obvious contender for improvement on the face of her form, but I can make excuses for the last 4 runs against the flow, trying to close into slow paces, speed favoring tracks the last 3, moving too early, I thought, in the race 4 back. This is the kind of dirtied up form that can often lead to a price, especially with a horse that's going to get a good setup, I think, in this spot. There's a lot of interesting long shots to run in underneath here, none more so than Buku. I want her. I'm going to go ahead and make her an A. Really, in my betting, I'm going to reflect my opinion that she's more likely for underneath there, but I still want as an A because I think she can potentially win the race. I also like the 5 Soprano. I think goes with a really big shot in here. I was super impressed with her in the Sandringham back in June when she helped win me a contest jockey event, which was super fun. She's progressed since then, too, and most recently running a good third in the Matron to Porta Fortuna. Porta Fortuna is your international co-favorite for the Breeders' Cup Mile right now. She would be 3 to 5 in here, so that you got to keep that in mind. Rob Dove, one of the top 10 pro punters in the UK today, did figure work on these races. This was a high 90s effort for Soprano last time. I love this rider, young Billy Loughnane, Billy the Kid, they call him over there. Love him getting a chance to ride at Keeneland. There'll be loads of Soprano on my tickets. I may be a little wimpy and back up with favorites I don't love in the form of She Feels Pretty, who I really don't think wants to step over a mile. And the one that beat her last time, the 9 Greyosh, could be on some tickets as well. Though that last race stands out a little bit like a sore thumb. I'm not sure I fully trust the form of that race. So I'm mostly going to be 7 and 5. I'll have a little bit of 3 and 9 as well. Again, for full analysis at theraces.com or the free In the Money Media newsletter. How do you see it? Are you buying we'll start with this. Are you buying my long shot case for Buku at all?
Not a bit.
That's good. Tell me why.
I don't know. I just think she's too slow. I mean, she has to get faster to beat these horses. Now, the way the track is playing, I like. I like that Junior gets on. I do think that that's interesting. Could this horse and likes the racetrack? So can she fill out maybe a try or a super? Yeah, I do think she can, but I don't think that she can beat the Euros in here. You mentioned Soprano. I mean, she won a 30-horse race at Ascot there back in June, and then facing like a Friendly Soul, Porta Fortuna. Porta Fortuna will end up probably the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Mile this year. This horse was, beaten less than 2 lengths last time in Ireland to this horse. So, and you get a perfect post. Now, can she stretch out to that mile and an eighth? That's the question, really. But you mentioned Maj last year. She was beat at lip in that Breeders' Cup, mile by a Master of the Seas. I mean, really, I thought she won the race. That's how close it was. So I do think that this horse is definitely a must use in here. It's the company factor alone, the class alone. I do think the €2 make the most sense. I want no part of that. The horse is coming out of the Lake Placid. She feels pretty was supposed to win there and didn't. And Grayosh got an absolute perfect ride from Pratt in that race to win at 8-1. So I don't want either of those. I'll use Soprano and then the 10, Candela. This horse is shortening up in distance. Has been racing mile and a quarter, mile and a half races. Mentioned Friendly Soul. Servi took a ton of money in the Arc this past weekend. So now she's got to cut back to a mile and an eighth, but a couple wins at a mile earlier this year in France. So I think that the Euros are just way too classy, way too good for these horses. And that would be where my money would fall. I would just be 5-10 on the A line and forget the rest.
I hear you. I mean, I love Soprano. Don't worry about the distance. If you can get a mile on the straight course at Ascot, you can get a mile and eighth around 2 turns, like easy. So that's not a concern. I'm a little concerned about Candela's lack of left-hand experience and just the post for her. And, especially with the way sometimes these Euros break. So, I mean, look, if she's a price, I'm going to work her into some combinations. But I had a strong preference of 5 over 10. But I hear everything you're saying. It's a fascinating race. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in that QE2. Let's get to race number 9. We've got an allowance race, big full field. We're going a mile and a 16th. Who do you like in here?
I was going to go with a price here, and that's the 12 surface to air. Now, if you look back at this horse's Aqueduct races earlier in May and June, a couple nice wins climbing the ladder. Was claimed for 30, stepped up to a starter allowance and won, then stepped up to a 1X and won. Then they throw to the Wolves, ended up in the Monmouth Cup. Now, lost Lasix in that spot. Didn't really race well at all. Showed speed and then dropped back and ended up, 7th out of 8th there. And then, tried the grass after that and had trouble in that spot. This horse really, there's had no business being on the turf. Now, they ship to Keeneland. They show up in a much better spot. You add Lasix back in. I do think that this horse could be forward in here. You're getting a big price. It's 20-1 morning line. I think will be every bit that. Probably could be even more here. So I think that this trainer is very sharp. Lots of nice wins at Monmouth at prices earlier this summer, mostly based like at Mid-Atlantic, but I do think is capable. And this horse is very hidden in this race. And it's pretty wide open, especially with the Diodoro horse. I don't really know what to do with the 11. 9-5 morning line coming out of those stakes races at Charlestown and Mountaineer. I don't know. I mean, the nicest win this horse has is a 3 life at Lone Star. I mean, that's where the big figure came. So I don't know that I want that one. If you can look for others, maybe the 4 King Kambali 8-1 morning line. This horse has some listed stakes races earlier in the year. Got a prep on September 15th for Nacho Correa. So I don't mind that one. And then maybe the 7 also as a price. Ben Franklin, Oaklawn races earlier in the year were pretty decent. Again, another horse that had a race at Churchill, and really that looks more like a prep for McPeak. Coming back, you get the main man Hernandez in the saddle. You could do worse at 15-1. I think this is a very wide open race. So I have prices. I have 12, 4, and 7.
Yeah, I'm with you on prices. We have some of the same numbers, some different, but we're both against the Perry Martin homebred. The 11 runner here. What is it? Comore Bino Mode. I'm going to go with.
Oh, that was better than I would have done.
Alex pronounces the Japanese much better. She, the story behind her. She taught herself Japanese so she could basically follow Japanese racing. It's kind of.
I didn't know.
Yeah, she's a lunatic in the best possible way. Also, to play a video game, she's always quick to point out. Gallop racer, I guess it is. But anyway, this horse makes some sense, but it's a tough post. I think Nick is probably right about this horse getting hammered. I don't think needs to win. I made the 4 King Kumbale my top pick. Likely needed that run last time. This is a multiple listed winner that has old races that would make him very tough in this spot. 8-1 is a terrific price. One you didn't mention that I wanted to talk about is the 6 Macman. Finished ahead of my top one last time and ran really well. That race on its face gives a big shot, and this is a horse that could improve for this new barn. Second time off the layoff. 4 and 6 were the main numbers I want. I love your case on the 12. I will steal that one in my own picks, but really just from the excellent case that you made on this show. One more race to talk about at Keeneland. 2-year-olds in a rare 2-year-old allowance race. We're going a mile on the turf here. We've got a big full field. This is the last race, of course, in that all-turf pick 3 on Saturday. When it comes to that bet and all these late picks, Mikey P, how are we going to get paid?
I'll keep it quick here. I'm going to go outside to the 12. Curahi, it's Brittany Russell, raced in the Rosie Stakes at Colonial after coming off a win, ran the Governor Sam. That horse came back to win at Keeneland this past weekend. And then if you're going to back up maybe the 6, the Brigade, 8-1 morning line. It's Cassie. I love his barn. Was a nice winner at Colonial, and then showed up in one of the big pot races at Kentucky Downs and raced okay. Got a check in there. So 12-6 to finish.
12-6 to close it out for Mike. You mentioned Governor Sam, horse that looks like might have a chance in a race like the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint with the speed he has. So that is an interesting form line indeed. I put number 4, I should say, Cole Battle number 1 in here. Yes, for sure. But this horse has some finish and is well drawn in a race where they might go too fast early. Won the debut, washed off the turf, but in the stake run was sticking on a bit late. That was a tricky trip from a tough post. I think this horse is going to be a big price, and there's a chance could be the best closer in here. Yeah, Nick had a 12-1. I would take that on this runner. My top backup I had as number 12, Curahi. Don't love the post, but think this horse also could be an okay price. As you made a great case for this horse. And I just think all in all has a really interesting combination of speed and stamina. Last one I wanted to mention, Nick had a 15 on the morning line. The 9, Strumman, has a good figure, granted on dirt, to run back to 2-back. Was just over the head in the stake last time. Did no running, I understand, in the previous turf out, but tempted to give one more try based on what could be okay turf breeding. You got Flame Away, so that brings Scat Daddy in there, and then Cantheros on the dam side as well. So I'm looking for 12-9, 12-6 for Mike. Mike, you willing to stick around? We'll talk about some Santa Anita after the break.
Absolutely.
All right, then we'll be back right after this. Except there is no break.
They just crossed the wire at Keeneland.
Yeah, I saw. I did not want to rush that. I thought we were getting good stuff. Who won?
The one. Major Dude won. 2-1.
Major Dude. Okay, so
yeah,
certainly major implications in potentially both contests, but especially our 40 runner event. We'll wait till that's official, and then what we'll do is go to these leaderboards, which for some reason it's now making me log into access. It's not being easy today. Not being easy for me today. But yeah, we'll get those leaderboards set, and then we'll talk about some Santa Anita stuff. This is also a good time to answer a question or two if people have them. Can you help me out? Can you use those comments? Is there a question we might want to dive into?
Let me see if I can get them.
Let's see. All right, Horseplayer happy. Let's see. Nathan says hello. Nathan, hello back to you. We've been seeing your name on the leaderboard. Where are you watching from, my friend? Let's see what else we have. Matt Miller chiming in. Okay, it's getting tight. He is maybe getting close to that cut line. We'll see what happens. But Matt was on the dude there as he makes the Lebowski joke, one of my favorite films. Haven't seen that in a couple of years, actually. We might need a Saratoga backyard screening for the Big Lebowski. If I could be guaranteed good weather, I would do, like, for charity or something, every Friday I would do movies and pizza in the little house on the east side backyard. We did it with Matt. We did a Let It Ride screening this past summer. That was one of the nights of the summer. We had my buddy Chef Dan come and cook. But I mean,
great movie.
Oh, it's so good.
It's hilarious.
My next one that I have picked out, I don't know, most people haven't seen it, but if you have, you will laugh in recognition when I say it. Have you ever heard, Mike, of a movie called The $2 Better?
No.
Have you heard of a movie called Reefer Madness?
No.
All right. So these were like these public service announcement type movies in the 1950s. So Reefer Madness was, about the evils of marijuana. The $2 Better is about the evils of gambling through the lens of horse racing. And it is comically over the top. And we would watch this and laugh our absolute, behinds off in the backyard. So it's going to happen. I think, as I remember, it's short, so we might be able to double feature it, either bringing back Let It Ride or going for, I could see getting Marshall involved and doing a whole horse racing series. I have to figure out, there's not, I want to figure out a way to do it range line, and that's very difficult in the space I have in Saratoga. So I'm not sure how realistic it is, or if it's realistic at all. But it does sound like Matt was a little more strategic today. It doesn't sound like it was quick picks. It sounds like it was just finding a hunch play connection somewhere, because now we've got UFC and we've got the Big Lebowski, two of his favorites. Yeah, Tom knows the legend of Reefer Madness, and it's really the same idea. Yeah, most people have heard of, I wouldn't say most, but plenty of people have heard of Reefer Madness. $2 better is obscure. I was actually, I don't know what I did with it, but I got a gift at some point from Roxy Roxborough. What an honor to get a gift from that man, gambling legend. It was like a mini version of the poster. I think it was this kind of thing that they used to send around to theaters for, not like to put in the lobby, but like coming attraction sort of, so people would know at the theater what was coming up. And it was a cool poster of the $2 better. I need to find that and have it framed. I should probably get Roxy to sign it for me the next time I see him. He's in the States enough that I could see that convergence happening. Are we official yet at Keeneland?
They're in the winner's circle now, so we'll see.
Yeah, not yet. Keeneland 8 is still an empty square on these leaderboards, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time as they get that tote information, and they're calculating the penny breakage or something here at Keeneland. Big price there if you were smart enough to find it in third at 29-1. Hey, who would you have picked if I'd thrown you for this? Did you cap this race?
Well, I did like, I had Major Dude when he won back at Saratoga. The price I think would have been tough to take here. I think 2-1 was a little short on that one. So I thought it was a pretty tough race, but right now on the grass at Keeneland, I mean, you need to be from off the pace. So that's the key. Really find the closers right now, because it's almost impossible to win up close.
Which is odd. I mean, they caught some rain this week, right? Did they get some hurricane remnant? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
No,
yeah,
it's
nothing yesterday.
It feels like that's the kind of thing that happens more when it's moist, but you never know. And winds can be involved. I mean, that's the thing about these biases, or something in the way they're maintaining the track. A lot of things, it's a butterfly effect thing.
I think in the fall it plays to closers more. I really do. I've always thought that. So the key to that is you need to find horses that are racing against the flow, against the racetrack. Even you could argue that maybe Carl Spackler raced against the racetrack a little bit last weekend to win in the way that he did. I mean, that's one thing that I don't know if he's good enough to win the Breeders' Cup Mile, but he did race against the track last weekend.
All right, let's see what's going on in the contest. Tim Yoler, this is the playoffs, right? No, this is for the seat. Tim Yoler, that would be some story if he can win 2 weeks in a row. He's one race away from doing it, being chased by Brett Wiener, Thomas Michael Abenanti. Boy, look at this scrum of people with the 3. So there's a lot of blocked folks for the win here in behind Brett Wiener. And then Glenn Bird and Timothy Brokaw and Robert Little all with the 6. So our contest players really like the 3 and the 6 in this 9th race at Keeneland. Are those favorites or long shots?
No, they're long. World record right now, 4-5.
Gotcha.
So,
good old world record back in. A little bit of an Adelphi Racing Club tie-in with that one, as world record is related to Salivo Spritz, who's now a broodmare who I owned at one point in conjunction with our friends over at Adelphi Racing Club. And then let's see, is the 9, is Jeffrey Schmitz drawing live here with this 9, needing $20? Need to be about 7-1.
9 currently 4-1 on the board.
Okay, maybe drawing dead there. So this will be interesting to see what happens. Not great luck for our friend Michael Domable in there behind, blocked with the 3. But hey, hit it, try to get up, get some breakage, do the things. And then Horseplayer Happy Hour playoffs, switch to the stab and said, now you can see it. So let's see what's happening. Julie LeBoyko looks like she'll advance to the final 20. Derek Cuno, Andrew Uretsky, Stefan Gravina, Michael Saletta, Nathan Kaczynski, Stephen McNatton, Mark Henderson, Matt Miller, Greg Kingma, James Millar, Jackson Muniz ×2, Chris Weichel, Michael Domable, Paul Weiser, John Massian ×2, Matthew McJunkin, and David Piers right now with that tie. I think ties go forward. I should have looked that up. If anybody's watching and can check the rules for me quickly, let me know. I think our thing is the ties go forward, but I'm not 100% sure about that, and I should know. So if somebody wants to help me out tremendously by looking that up, I would appreciate it. Okay, are you ready to talk about some Santa Anita?
I am ready.
PTF back with you. Mikey P still in the house as we pivot to talk about Santa Anita and their last 6 races on Saturday. Pretty good card overall, though funny enough, one of the later races here was a little less than the rest of the card, and that's the one we're going to start with, which is race number 4. $16,000 claimers going 5.5 on the dirt. I will jump right in because my opinion is boring, but I think this is the right horse if you're playing in this new $2 pick 6. Perfect in Gray, just to me, Mike, looks like she has a huge edge on figures and may also be pace advantaged in this spot. I was going to single and move on. Can you be any more creative in this race at Santa Anita?
I mean, it's tough to be creative here. That's sort of 3 to 5 morning line. If you're trying to beat, you could maybe try the 1, Sapadilla. It's Papa Padromo, very sharp right now. He's 6 wins already to start the meet, 3rd time back. Has some okay races. Probably would need to get faster. And then maybe the 2, Yo-Yo Mama as another one. The figure at Los Al going 1,000 yards on September 21st is okay. And this horse has shown some speed in the past, was claimed back in February at this level. A lot of these horses are 1 for types, obviously. So, the 4 has a huge pace edge. I wouldn't waste much equity against.
So the kind of deal where you'd have the 4 as a lone A, and then maybe the 1 and the 2 is deeper backups for the notes I send around.
Correct.
Money plus people. You happy enough with that?
That sounds good to me.
All right. Allowance race up next for race number 5. We're going 1 1/8 on the turf in this one. I am again a little chalky, I'm afraid, but I'm going to try to lock it up. The 3 Ion Rye. If the last race was real, and it might be, could just be the right type of improving 4-year-old here. And looking into that figure a little bit, the second came back and ran the same figure and won. The 2 others to come back and run were +3 with figures and +13 with figures. So I think Ion Rye might be the right one, morning line favorite or not. The 4 Request, I thought, was another interesting improver type in this race. My read was the jock got too cute last time and actually went too slow early, and it sort of messed up the efficiency of this one's running and ended up, not in as good of a position. But this time around, I thought could get a great trip, maybe running through the race a little bit more efficiently. And I think this horse's improvement might be a little bit buried by the inefficient run through last time. 3 and 4 for me in the 5th. It's going to try to get those 2 in and maybe pick up some equity, leaving Old Pal out of the mix in this spot. How do you see race number 5?
Yeah, 2 different ones for me. I like the 2 Escape Artist. This horse gets back to preferred surface at Santa Anita. 5 starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, and a third. Gets back to the mile and 1/8 also. If you look back to July the 21st, was second there, just missed at 11-1. Third back for McCarthy, gets back to the right racetrack. I think the distance should suit. 6-1 morning line. And Rispoli also, I think, is a big upgrade here. So that one is very interesting to me. And then I don't mind the 7 Old Pal. I think that this horse can be used as an A. Similar things. Gelded now. The distance suits. 3rd start back, likes the track, 3 wins in 6 starts, and never has been out of the money. So I prefer those 2 in this spot in race number 5.
2 and 5. Are those the numbers on those 2?
2-7.
2 and 7. Sorry, I wrote down the wrong number. So okay, so we do have 1 vote for Old Pal, and you're getting a little creative with Escape Artist there at 6-1 in the morning line. I could see it. You usually need no excuse to having a Michael McCarthy runner talked onto my ticket and should sit an open trip in that one. But yeah, it's only 7 runners, but it's an interesting little race with a lot of different ways you can go. We'll move to race number 6. We've got these 2-year-old maiden fillies going a mile. Who do you like in this one?
I'll try the one Bougie Beach on top. Ran into non-compliance last time, and that was first time out. And nobody's really beaten that horse. And that horse came right back to win the Oak Leaf last weekend. You get inside post. Peter Miller, second time out, 22% with a positive ROI. So I think that one should definitely improve here. Going a mile, I think the stretch outs also should help. This horse is certainly bred to go much longer. I think the 7 can be used. Rio del Sol, 9-2 morning line. That pace last time was just wicked going a mile. And this is another McCarthy runner. Ended up third in there. I do think could play a little bit better here, especially if the pace isn't quite so fast. That one should be right there. I would use those 2 as A's. And then you have a Baffert Firster. Definitely watch the board here on the 2 Howland. 5-2 morning line. Certainly, you have the Baffert factor. This horse they paid $550 for at Keeneland September last year. Bred to go. I think the board will tell the story. So I'll try the 1 and 7, but definitely keep your eye on the 2 and keep an eye on the money there.
Yeah, and then that's a place also where you might be able to look at the Clocker report. We were talking with Alexa Zepp earlier about all the excellent additional Breeders' Cup coverage that they're going to have over at DRF. Well, week in, week out, the help you can get with their Clocker reports. I definitely want to see that on the 2 Howen, who I mean, obviously is I'm sort of throwing up my hands because it seems so obvious. Going to take money. I have nothing against, but I'm wondering if there isn't going to be more value in trying to go with ones with experience in a race where I think you can tell stories about the ones with experience. So those were the 2 I wanted to focus on. Rio del Sol, who you mentioned second, I wanted first. This horse set a really fast pace first time out, and I think has the opportunity, maybe, I mean, depending on what the firsters do, to be loose in this spot. I thought that one at 9-2 morning line was pretty interesting. And then I was also with you on the interesting form line with Bougie Beach, who, took no money on debut against non-compliant, but as good as that one was, I just wanted to give another chance. Peter Miller that might be able to improve significantly second time out. I was going to try to mess around with the 7 and 1. I certainly get your idea on the 2 there, though, in race number 6 at Santa Anita. Let's talk about race number 7, where we've got a first level allowance going a mile on the turf. Mike, I'm going to throw this ball right back in your court. What numbers do you want on your tickets in here?
Just too deep here. Top pick on the 1, Montjica. This horse raced here September 8th. Actually raced at Del Mar September 8th in a race that really was dominated by horses that were glued to the rail. And this horse really had no chance from the 11 post, coming over from France and had some wins over there. So Glatt, second time here, is definitely a positive angle. He's 24% with that move. You add blinkers, you get an inside post, you get a different rider. So I think lots to like in a field that really doesn't have a ton of horses that I think you can really trust. Another horse I think you might be able to use is the 8, Lady Claypool. Mentioned that race last time on September 8th. This horse raced pretty well at 29-1, was inside, got held up around the turn, ended up coming late to be third. Now, was never threatening the winner there, but I do think this horse is third back, maybe had a little trouble. Figures are typically very similar. So this horse basically runs the same race every time. I think it fits here. Probably needs a trip. You're going to get a price again. So I favor the 1 on the A line, maybe the 8 on the B line.
I hear you with Lady Claypool. Definitely a flow upgrade coming out of that last race. And I think you can really say the same about Montjica, too, who's one of the ones that I had on my radar in the spot. I made my top pick, though, the number 2, Ultimate High, a runner. There's a little bit of a in Carla Gaines I trust play in that she, this 7-year-old, has been so rank this form cycle and really been her own worst enemy. But this is an easier spot, I think, even than that first allowance race she ran in off the long layoff where she had license to be unfit. And then, maybe a little bit over the head, maybe a little bit against the flow. Definitely not doing herself any favors last time. Against this weaker group, I think she's going to be more forward. Could be set for a nice trip in the third start of the form cycle for a trainer that I really like and admire, and think she could have this one in a good spot and could get a really nice trip, I think, sitting in behind the speed of a runner like Real Fire, who I don't think is a contender to be there at the end. I'll also give a shout out to the 6, Cornelia Fort, in this spot, like so many of these, a bit against the flow at Del Mar, but a horse that, tries and puts in representative efforts. And I just thought might be overpriced, and looking at pace figures might be a little bit closer than she's usually been in these spots. So I had a 2, 6, and 1, seeing very similar angles to yours on Monjica in this spot. We'll see if we can get the winner there in that allowance race number 7 as we go to a maiden race on the dirt for runners between 3 and 5 years old. We've got a field of 9 going postward, and Magnify was made a pretty strong favorite on the morning line at 9-5. Mike, are you with or against?
I'm with. I mean, this is a Baffert horse. This horse I thought took a little time off and then improved at Del Mar on August 22nd. Lost to a Baffert favorite there, and now an outside post here, you get a jockey switch. But I do like that progression. I do think this horse might be a little faster than these, so it just needs to kind of get an outside trip and then maybe take over. I could see the 2 though. Malibu Rocks. This horse was another one, raced pretty well back here in December and January. And, you see an 84 buyer there on January the 28th, and then went away, switched trainers, went to the grass on the comeback. And that was a really difficult main special weight there. A Joyrider, Spy Catcher, and maybe this horse doesn't want turf. Gets back to the dirt, you get an inside post, has shown speed in the past. This one's a definite use. I would definitely use this horse on the A line. So 2 and 9 in this race.
Yeah, we're similar. I really like Malibu Rocks in this spot. Just looks like a excellent spot with that conditioning type of a race off the layoff. Now getting back onto what I think is going to be the better surface. I would like to be fully convinced that he could sit and pounce as opposed to just go to the lead, but I think he probably can. He's got a good draw, and there's just horses in here I don't trust. I mean, Miramati will take a ton of money. And I mean, you want to talk about the prototypical horse who's had his chances. No offense to the man he's named after, but I mean, I think when he wins, he's going to beat me when he does win his maiden, which he surely will at some point. My issue with Magnify is, especially for a Baffert, this horse just has no speed. And I don't know, maybe those recent works have gotten this thing tuned up and could be in the mix. I certainly don't mind having Magnify as a backup just because the horse is not exposed in the same way as some of these others, but I just don't trust to put on the A line even. So I was going to make the 9 a B and try to get the winner here with Malibu Rocks, hoping that we can get a stalk and pounce trip in a race where and they are going to, very possible they're going to hit up front with runners like the 4, the 6, and the 8, and it might just set up for Magnify even with that lack of early speed. Anyway, 2 and 9 for me there. You've got the same horses in the other order. We've got one more race to talk about. It's our nightcap and it's our feature, the California Distaff Handicap, fillies and mares, Calbreds, and we are going down the hill here. One of my favorite configurations in American racing. Who do you like to close this thing out?
I'm going to try the 11. I do think this is a wide open race, but I'm going to try the 11 Big Summer. Moves from open to a state bred stake, and this horse has raced well at the distance, at the racetrack. Third back here, you get Hector Barrios, who rides the grass and the hill just fine. I mean, really probably could suit this horse's style because it comes from off the pace. So, and they could heat up here. So I think that this horse 5-1 morning line has a big chance. These outside posts on the hill, really, that's like being on the inside. So I don't mind that whatsoever. I like that one. I think a couple prices, the 9 Sassy Nature. This horse raced in the grade 3 against Montorius last time on August 31st at Del Mar. That's a really tough race. And this horse had a ton of speed in that race. Wired a field on August 2nd at Del Mar. Now, can this horse get this distance? I'm not sure, but certainly maybe the speed of the speed. If you look back to the Keeneland lines and the Churchill lines, this horse is first every single time out. So you know that this horse is going to be in front, and you got Maldonado. There's no better gate jockey really in the world than him. I mean, he's going to put this horse on the front. She's going to go, I think, a long way in here. So I want to use that one also. I think that I like the 8, Chamosa. Last that we talked about that horse when racing against Sweet Azteca last week, where they scratched out of that spot to race in this spot. So now you get the grass, certainly familiar with the hill, doesn't necessarily like to win over it, but races well and certainly can maybe get an underneath spot. Who knows? If it heats up enough, maybe she can end up getting them all late. So I think that that one is also a use, especially on the underneath the line. I don't know that the horse can win, but I'll do 11, 9, and 8 there to finish up.
I had the 9 as my top pick. Now, there are questions here. And my question is about stamina. It's less about the bloodlines that I think are going to fit and more about a stat that I just checked that I do not like. Luis Mendez, as a trainer, turf sprinting anywhere, 1 for 25 in the last 5 years. That's not good. But, hey, the horse doesn't know that stat, and the horse looks like the best speed I'm definitely going to have on tickets. But with that in mind, I definitely want some other horses on tickets. I'll take a long look at the others you mentioned. I was a little more obvious with my alternative. That's number 7, Stay and Scan. This horse should get an absolutely excellent trip, steady diet of stakes races, trying hard, being competitive, meaningful. I think this is meaningful. It's stake, but it's I didn't think it was as tough of a stake as some of the ones that this one's been facing. And I think the trip is going to be a little bit easier. I was going to try to get out 9 and 7. I think I'm going to cast the net a little bit wider and throw in some of your long shots as well in the actual bets that I construct. But that's how I saw it to close things out at Santa Anita. Really appreciate you coming on and doing this extra duty for us, Mikey P. We appreciate the work you're going to be doing on the Breeders' Cup side and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Can't wait.
One more message from our sponsors, and we'll be back to close it out. Except there are no messages from the sponsors right now. I just said that because, again, doing double duty here today. So, all right, good stuff. We've got not that much time left in the show at this point. We're 2:15 in. This is it's almost like one of my Sky Sports racing shifts at this point. Mike Saletta was able to clear this up. Once you get the thing I was thinking of is for the 80. The top 80 we let ties in, but not for the playoffs. Once you get to the playoffs, we're stricter than that, or he would have had another entry come through. First tiebreaker's number of wins, then highest mutual win payout, and then there's more after that. But it will be cut off right at 20. They were identical. I guess at some point it's probably Mike. Sometimes the absolute last tiebreaker will be who entered earlier. So maybe your first entry gets priority over your second, or maybe they flip, McKay Smith flips a coin. I don't know. But
what's your thoughts on that strategy? Like having 2 entries and making them identical. Like I don't know that I
mean, if you have strong opinions, I mean, it works in the early rounds. Well, I'll tell you where it really wouldn't work is next week, because only one goes to the final table. So next week, it would be a bad strategy. You'd be throwing an entry away, essentially. But as you're getting there, if those are your opinions, you're using a methodology. I mean, yeah, it probably makes sense to diversify a little bit, but I also just sort of respect the idea of, no, I'm going to go with what I go with, and, I'm going to try to do it. Especially last week, because we were going from, well, actually, people didn't know this at the time, but it would have worked out that way. We're supposed to be going from 80 to 40, and we ended up going from 58 to 40 because people don't read their email. But, I do have – I'm tempted to blame user error and all that, but the reality is we could do a better job communicating. And next week we're gonna do Horseplayer Happy Hour a little bit differently next week. I want next year. I want it to be even simpler. I think I just want the tour to be about being the tour winner and maybe having some other prizes for being in the top 10 on the tour that I got to figure out what they're going to be. But I think the playoffs, I want to be something more along the lines of finish in the top 5 any week and you get the playoffs. It'll just be easier to explain and understand as we go through the year. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Mike, please give your thought on this. So you're only going to do it in round 1. Yeah. Was it you just didn't see any need to diversify? Was that it? Or, yeah, tell me, give us an explanation of that, because I think it's interesting. I mean, I hear where you're coming from, but Mike would like to know. Oh, we should also, Mike, if you have a thought on this Keeneland race that's 1 minute away, feel free to give us that.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you're playing contests, you're looking for upsets. I mean, the 2 is currently 1-4 on the board. So, I mean, that's just a horse that doesn't play well in contests. A race like, and that is pretty obvious early on. Looking at the program, you know that this horse is going to be very short, and especially to end a contest like this, I certainly would be price shopping and really hoping to catch something here, because you can get definite separation.
Let me interrupt and just say, I think it's 2 different strategies for the 2 different contests. Like, if you love this horse in the contest where it's 40 people and you only have to be the top 20, like, I don't hate the idea of taking 5 free dollars. Like, look at how close. I'll show you on the leaderboard. I'll illustrate my point. Let's look at how tight this is is this the top 20? Yeah, this is the playoffs. So if you go down to the cut line right now, 21-20. So all these people are within world record away, probably down to Malcolm here of making it with that horse. And funny enough, we'll find out, because all these people on the bubble actually.
You don't see too many 2s in that top 20, though. There's not too many 2s in there that I can see.
A handful.
Okay.
Not to represent a 2 to 5 shot, but where you're 100% right is this contest, where it's the top 1 of 100 who's really winning a prize. Anyway, who are the long shots you like in here? I cut you off when they're about to pop.
Well, they're loading now. I don't know. I thought that this was a tough race, but I'm not crazy about world record. I could definitely see the 3 off the 2 straight wins and the improvement. I like Paulo Lobo a lot. When he ships 1 to Keeneland, he definitely can pop. And I like Louis Machado too. I know he's only 1 for 19 for the meet, but he's aggressive. He puts horses in the right spots. I do like him a lot as a rider, and he made the front here.
I was just going to say, as Q, he had no interest in letting world record make an easy lead, and world record, in fact, is in a little bit of a jackpot right now.
Absolutely, he's in trouble.
Check off heels here and make a run another way. Good job by the rider. Got the horse out of the really crappy spot and is now moving okay, because they are running up front, and I wouldn't call him done. But it's certainly not the easy trip you wanted if you bet a 1-4 shot, and he's going to have to do something different and be very game. A very interesting call here on your 17-1. World record is just not having a very good day in there behind. But let's see if now loose and set down for the drive and win anyway. And it looks
like it.
That may happen. But this horse on the outside isn't done. So I mean, those early exertions take a toll, and set this one up. Might show his class here, look this thing in the eye and turn him away. And I think that's the way it's going to go. So it's 2-7 in the end, but it was.
If you had the 7, that was a little brutal there.
Yeah, very, very tough.
A little bit of a tease.
1 more second of trouble, and the horse wins. But the split came. That's the thing. I mean, these jockeys, and they're so good at waiting sometimes. If you wait for the split, it usually comes, even when it looks bleak. And that's especially when you're on a rocket ship. But yeah, if you bet your betting day allowance on that one, you would have had some anxious moments. Let's put it that way. But in the end, world record gets the job done. And so the 7 place points, what's that going to do on this board? Well, Julia Leboyko had the 7. So I think we know that, let's see, Michael Sletta, who had the 2 in the big, oh no, that's the playoffs. Gosh darn it. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Let's go back. So it was Tim Yoler here, who, this was the one with the 6. So Vic Vickers going to be too far back with 36 for those place points to mean anything. Unfortunately, probably would have been right in the hunt. Would have won probably with the win. No, probably not. Probably wouldn't have won anyway, because the place price is going to be depressed because of world record. So these results should stand up, which is a pretty incredible story from Tim Yoler, who I think might have to be our guest on Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge Diaries next week, or one of our guests.
You should put him on Horseplayer Happy Hour the way he's going, especially during these contests.
That's insane, really, to do that. We'll wait for the official, but I don't see how it could be anything else. And then, yeah, it does look like all these folks in this contest who are on the outside looking in are going to make this. They're going to get they're certainly going to get 4. So they should be a-okay. We'll see how this all shakes out. Jackson did have the 2, so Jackson's going to have 2 in the semis. We don't pick favorites here among our players, but if you're in the money family and you happen to be on a show with two other guests, both of whom have won their BCBC seats during the course of the show. No pressure, Jackson, but certainly making it interesting here at the end with a chance to bring two entries to that 20. And it'll be interesting to see, that as we pointed out, will be definitely strategy will change. But it's one of those things where I don't know how much it changes in terms of, obviously you're going to want your strong opinions on both. You don't want two completely different tickets, but at least in races where he's divided, he has a chance to shoot at a couple of prices as 20 goes down to 10 next week. So you and I have talked a bit offline about baseball these days. Where's your fandom now? You said as a kid you like the Mets. Are you still kind of pulling for us? Did the Pirates Mets rivalry at some point knock that out of you? Where do you stand?
No, I'm a Pirate fan all the way. I mean, I have to stick with local, but it's difficult to be a Pirate fan just with the ownership and the way things are done. It's just that they are impossible to root for. But at least we have Paul Skeens.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Skeens and you got that other great young pitcher too, if he can keep his
Stay
health.
healthy.
Yeah. What's his name? I'm spacing. I'll look up
Jones, I think, right? Is it Jones?
Yeah, I can't remember his first name, but he looked very good against the Mets when I watched him this year. But yeah, so at this point of the year, how much do you pay attention or not much?
Well, very little. I mean, it's hockey season. It's right now is about the busiest horse racing season also between harness and thoroughbred. So baseball, I like it. I'll keep my eye on it. But as far as really sitting down and watching a 9-inning game, it just doesn't happen.
Jared Jones. That's the guy that was the first name we were trying to think of. All right, they're official. So let's hit these leaderboards one more time. We'll start with this one, which is going to confirm that Tim Yoler has done, if I'm remembering this correctly, the seemingly impossible and won 2 weeks in a row. Few people get breakage, including Michael Domable. I think the breakage goes down to 4th. Let's see. Yeah, because he basically gets to play again next week. But hey, that's better.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, better than nothing. So Brett Wiener, Thomas Michael Avenanti, Michael Domble, Stefan Gravina, Glenn Bird. And then we'll move over to the other tab. I have to refresh it. And then I click share this tab instead. And indeed, Julie Leboyko, appropriately enough, will be advancing. Andrew Uretsky, Derek Cuno, Stefan Gravina, Mike Saletta, good work. Nathan Kaczynski also watching us today, good work. Mark Henderson, Stephen McNatton, Matt Miller, keeping the dream alive. 2nd year in a row, he gets to the semifinals. We'll see if he can go one better than last year. Greg Kingma, Jackson ×2, Michael Domable, James Millar in the money all the way. Paul Weiser, very well regarded and known tournament player. Great to see him participating in our events. Chris Weichel, David Pierce, John Bull III, one of the John Massian entries, and Matthew McJunkin. For 20 that will advance to next week. Tough luck for Chris, Chris and David's second entry almost got there with the cheeky chalk use in the last. Needed a little bit bigger of a price, I guess, maybe to get in the other position to get that extra little place bump or something. But unlucky there. As we see the other folks who did not advance, we thank them all for playing and making this such a great season of Horseplayer Happy Hour so far, and it's only going to get better. Semifinals next week, and then we'll do our special for the final once again, where I'll try to do pre-interviews with all 10 and bring them on here. You get to meet some of the players. That's always, for me, one of the most fun things that we do here on this show. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
For Mike, for Alex, for JK, for Haley and Justin, and the rest of the team at Breeders' Cup, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody out there for listening, especially those who support us by playing. Remember, we got another game next week on Thursday, $179. The house cut goes to charity. This show's been a co-production of the Breeders' Cup and In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatel. May you win all your photos.